Okay, I'll start over. The notice on the agenda, which is the first item appearing on the agenda, has changed numerous times since posting. Originally, the notice read that Board President, Board Vice President Karen Mejia and Board Member Juliana Georges are attending the meeting virtually due to travel while on official business of the district and governing board, full stop. On or around Sunday, the words pursuant to AB 2449, Sunday or Monday, they were posted Monday on the wall of the district office, which are still up now at 10 a.m. on Monday. And then today, the notice on the agenda was changed again. The Zoom link was removed. The dial-in number was removed for the public to dial in. And it said that if the public wanted to give comment, that they would have to email Carr and Luke at least 30 minutes in advance of the meeting. The exemptions under AB 2449 require that legislative body that provides a timed public comment period for each agenda item not close the public comment period for the agenda item or the opportunity to register to provide public comment until that timed public comment period has elapsed. So on the face of the agenda today, we told the public, we removed the Zoom link, we removed the dial-in number. We told the public that they must email Carr and Luke 30 minutes in advance if they want to give comment. But AB 2449 requires that we give the public, we shall not close the public comment period for an agenda item or the opportunity to register to provide public comment until that timed public comment period has elapsed. So my concern is that we did not give proper public notice under the Brown Act, allowing the public to participate virtually and provide public comment to this board. Posted without the link for the public to dial in or participate till Monday morning on the district office wall. Then it was removed today.
So let me just summarize. The concern is that because we have two board members appearing virtually, that by default allows others to publicly comment virtually. Is that the gist of what you're trying to tell me?
Correct.
So now, what's the evaluation on that?
If you're talking, we cannot hear you.
So to be clear, there's a link that's been on the board docs agenda that remains there. It should remain there until we open session or come back to regular open session. That way people can therefore register to then make comment during the public comment section. I want to make sure that that's available.
Is that what we're requiring, that they have to email 30 minutes prior? That's what we're requiring. And when you say the link was removed, I saw that it was removed today. It was removed from the notice. I saw that. And I went to the call to order and I didn't see it there. So are you saying that now that this meeting has begun, the link is there?
There is no.
Yes.
So that's why there was.
Yeah. Now, before I left here, it was about 4:09, 4:08 p.m. The icon was not there. The one you're referring to, I think it might have shown up maybe 10 minutes to 4:30. The icon wasn't there. The link had been removed today. Actually, the link to participate was not included with the original posting for the public, which it would have been our safe harbor under AB 2449, that when that agenda is posted.
Anthony, you've made your point. Let's find out what staff says. Scott.
Yes, I worked with legal counsel on Saturday and with Suhei,
and we posted the language that was there with a link at 2:30 on Saturday. And when Cajon returned, she says it's duplicate. We had as she said, the icon and the link. So she removed the link. But as of 2:30 on Saturday, that verbiage and the link was provided.
Okay. So on Saturday, the Zoom link was posted online and then out there on the district office while it says it's posted Monday morning at just before 10 a.m. was when that Zoom link was posted. So when the original when the agenda was posted on Friday, it just said the board vice president and board member jerseys were attending the meeting virtually due to travel while on official district business. Sometime on Saturday, you added the AB 2449 exemption and the link, and then that was posted on Monday. And then today that link was removed for a period of time. Am I understanding all of that correctly?
That's correct.
Has there been a gap between initial posting and now where there was no link or no access? That is however the link or access existed. I want to make sure, and I want to have confirmation that that was constant. Because if there was a break, I think Anthony makes a very valid point. If there was not a break, then I can understand where staff's coming from and we can move forward. But I want to make sure that I'm clear on that and that we're on the record with how we're doing
this. Mr. President, your question was whether there was a gap from when the agenda was posted.
From Saturday. Right, from Saturday to today, there's been a constant ability to either go to the link or the icon has been there, one of the two.
Right.
Well, the link is here now. It was removed earlier today, and there was no icon. So I have a screenshot of that. And it said that in order to provide public comment, that they must email Carr and Luke at least 30 minutes prior to the meeting, which again would sort of take away our safe harbor under AB 2449, because as I read it, we need to allow the public to register to comment until the time for that agenda item comment closes or the time for the general public comment would close. So we told the public today that they couldn't do that.
It has to go to the timing of the open meeting session. That's available, correct? That's why I'm asking staff.
Under our board bylaw, that is correct. Under AB 2449, as I read, the requirement is a little more heavy. If you want to use the AB 2449 exemption, it says the legislative body that provides a timed public comment period for each agenda item shall not close the public comment period for the agenda item or the opportunity to register to provide public comment until that timed public comment period has elapsed. So our board bylaw, our agendas usually say, turn in your speaker card before we start the meeting. If you want to use AB 2449, however, it seems to say that we have to give the public the opportunity to register to provide public comment until that timed public comment period has elapsed. So there's a conflict in what the Zoom link and the dial-in link were removed today.
Is it a conflict or is it a confluence?
That's why what's the question there?
In other words, is it a conflict in and of itself, or is it where it's read together? That's what
the conflict would be that we told the public today that they must email Carr and Luke 30 minutes prior to the meeting in order to provide comment, that we removed the Zoom link and the dial-in number at some point today on this notice. It was not there. Neither was the link that would have, or the icon that would have showed up 10 minutes before the meeting for the public to log in. And if that icon's showing up 10 minutes before the meeting for the public to log in, but we told the public that they must email Carr in 30 minutes prior, then we have a gap.
Anthony, your point is made. Karen, have we received any messages or requests that would not have satisfied the 30-minute request that you have listed? None. Okay. So you have a point you're making a point, Anthony. What do you want to see as a resolution to that point? Is it your intention to, do you believe that the meeting should not move forward? Is that the end result that you would like? Or are you trying to clarify something for a corrective measure? So I understand where we're going with it.
Sure. AB 2449 as an exemption, I don't think we've met the requirement with the various changes we've made to public notice. So I would recommend that we revert to our board bylaw on teleconferencing and to the existing Brown Act rules on teleconferencing.
Which allows people to come forward up to the time that we start the second open session, correct?
Yes, it would also come with the requirement that the location, physical whereabouts of the board members who are attending via teleconference be posted with the agenda 72 hours prior.
That was done Saturday at 2:30.
So the physical whereabouts were done of the board members? I don't even see them on the agenda now.
That was done through legal counsel. You don't need to post anything at the location. And that was the verbiage that was given by legal counsel.
I think what Anthony's asking is that we have to post where they are from here, not that, because I know there used to be an old rule that if we appear remotely, we had to like put a notice of the agenda on our hotel door, things of that nature. That's not part of the deal anymore. But I think what Anthony's trying to say, no comments from the gallery, thank you. COVID has changed quite a bit of things. Nonetheless, the fact of the matter is, I believe that Anthony is saying that we have to notice on our agenda here that our board members are elsewhere and give a physical location where that is. Is that your comment, Anthony? Am I reading that correctly?
Well, if we aren't under AB 2449, and I think Scott, you might have been referring to that with legal counsel, then we would revert back to our board bylaw 9320, our existing board bylaw that does say agendas shall be posted at all teleconference locations and shall list all teleconference locations whenever they are posted elsewhere. All teleconference locations shall be accessible to the public. Agendas shall be posted at all teleconference locations and shall list all teleconference locations whenever they are posted elsewhere.
So does the fact that Juliana and Karen's location has been previously posted and noticed through travel and conference, which we've approved, constitute a disclosure as to where they are, because we all know where we are. And that would be that would be on public notice from the prior notice.
On the on our where we approve travel and conference, it shows the state. So like even tonight, we says we're sending folks to Nevada. I assume Las Vegas. I talked with Karen on Thursday. I think they said they're in Atlanta, Georgia, but the requirement, the location would be the physical whereabouts. So that would be, the Sheraton Hotel, Atlanta, Georgia, and the address.
Under your interpretation is an actual location, not just city or state, city and state.
Yeah, because it has to be under our board bylaw. It must be accessible to public with the posting on the door and that sort of thing. So
that changed.
Well, and under AB 2449, it would be different if we have just cause, right? And if we had given the public notice when the agenda was posted with a link and a dial-in number, and we had told the public that they can dial in and register to give public comment up to the point where the time for delivering public comment on that agenda item had expired. What we did instead is we today removed the link, removed the phone number, the icon to log in was not present, and we told the public that they had to email Karin at least 30 minutes in advance to deliver public comment, which I think took us right out from under AB 2449 if we ever were, and brings us back under the Brown Act and under our board bylaw.
Well, so my position is that so long as we have public comment available, so people can register for public comment up to the time that we reopen open session, that's what we should be doing. That's number one. And that would comply with anything that we need to comply with. Two, I don't know if I'm following you specifically that we have to identify where Karen and Juliana are because they are here presently virtual versus a phone call as an example. Does staff have any opinion on that? Anybody dealt with this before?
Well, I personally asked our attorney, Joey Sanchez, to give me a verbiage for the agenda. He did not say it had to be posting the location they're at. That verbiage is directly from him. So I feel confident that the location that they're actually staying at is not required.
I don't think we could do the location they're at this point anyway with public notice. And I agree under AB 2449, under certain circumstances that we would be allowed to have board members teleconference in without giving the public location. The first requirement though is that when the agenda is posted, that we give the public the link and the dial-in number. Again, that was removed today, and that we give the public the opportunity to register to give public comment until the time period for each agenda item has closed, which we
Anthony,
told the public today that we couldn't do.
What is your ultimate goal?
Can I interrupt before?
Discussing the topic so that we have an understanding. Do you want to continue tonight's meeting? Is that your goal? And if so, I need a motion.
We have a quorum of board members here. I think we should continue tonight's meeting under our board bylaw rather than under AB 2449. I think if we do try to use AB 2449 with what has transpired on the notice, that we run the risk of potentially invalidating votes. We've definitely, I mean, this public notice was updated today. The link was removed and it was said that they had to email Carr and Luke today, less than 8 hours before this board meeting, in order to give public comments. So the changes we've made, I feel like it muddies the waters. I would say we revert back to our board bylaw in the Brown Act, because AB 2449, I feel like we've just blown it out the.
And you recognize that staff is referring or is referencing that legal counsel says that that we are in compliance.
I don't think legal counsel has given, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, have they given an opinion today after the Zoom link and phone number were removed and the public was told that they had to email Carr and Luke 30 minutes prior to the meeting in order to register for public comment?
No, the Zoom link was removed. However, it was a duplicate. So they already had, it was just there twice. Nothing was taken away from that. However, I think the comment about 30 minutes beforehand, if the board wishes to allow comments throughout the board meeting, I don't see that would violate anything. You're still allowing it to go beyond. That's our policy in person is 30 minutes before. So
our policy is 30 minutes before the board meeting?
I misspoke, I'm sorry. It's as of the board meeting starting. We don't allow comments to come in throughout the board meeting. So, but in the past, that is the virtual way of doing things. There's a 30 minutes beforehand, but if the board wishes to open that up for comments throughout, just to make it transparent, I don't see that as something that would violate.
Can you all hear us? Can you hear us?
That would be my intention. I mean, if we were going to proceed forward, we need to make sure that the public has access.
Only you can hear us.
I think the cat's out of the bag a little bit because we told the public they had to email Carr in 30 minutes prior.
And yet nobody's
Today.
emailed.
On the agenda.
Well, at this point, we started was before the 30 minutes. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Legal counsel from F3 is here on a different matter, but has expertise in
He said something was different.
recommendation.
It
even
says
though
right here,
with
Karen's
Scott
number
Hughes'
there.
analysis
It's still there,
makes sense
but
and
it was
believe we're
probably
in the
in
clear,
the text. It was
would
a
be
duplicate.
to have
The
our
link
meeting
right
with
here.
our quorum here and have Juliana and Karen be participants, or we
Can't
let
hear
them,
us.
They can't hear you.
they
Nope.
can't hear me?
How long has it been?
No, we can hear you, but
Can
you
hear
can't.
me? You can hear me?
I can't hear her,
Yes.
Okay.
You
But
can't hear us.
David.
Juliana.
Is that correct?
No. You can't hear us.
We
Can you
can't
hear us?
you.
Greg, would you
Can you
mind
hear us?
re-articulating that for us? And we need you to speak into a microphone if that's okay.
We pause the meeting until the board members can.
Yeah, let's figure that out.
Actually, we need to be able to hear them.
Right.
Okay.
Well, maybe.
Don't call her.
Are you on mute, Karen, Juliana?
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
Try on your computer.
Try from the computer, just log into the other one.
I mean, we can hear you. We can hear you from, can you hear me on your computer?
On mine, coming through my,
You hear
But
us?
we can hear you on my computer, but we can't hear you on you can't hear us on Juliana's.
Well, mute Juliana so that there's no feedback in the loop. That way you use only one microphone between the two of you.
There we go.
Hear us, Karen?
Hello? Hello?
You hear us?
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
did you turn it on?
Let me mute. Can you hear us?
Two batteries again.
Hello? Okay. So there's still two ways to do, have remote participation in a board meeting. There's the new AB 2449, which does require members of the public to be able to register to provide public comment during the entire period. A rule saying you have to register 30 minutes in advance is not valid under the new way of doing remote meetings. What we call the old school teleconference rules require that the agenda state the location of the remote location and who will be participating from that. And it's my understanding, haven't done that. So we don't have compliance with the old school rules for teleconference. We have substantial compliance with the rules of AB 2449. If you continue to allow anyone to register for public comment up until public comment closes for the matter, that would be technical compliance with AB 2449. You would have the one issue that the agenda said they had to do it 30 minutes in advance. Have that inconsistency. There, you would have compliance in fact, you would have substantial compliance with the intent of the law, but someone might claim that they were dissuaded from participating because they registered 30 minutes before the meeting. So there's a remote risk.
But yet we've completed this issue prior to 30 minutes. Karen, do you have any efforts to comply? Or any efforts to register? Okay, so at least we have compliance there.
Question, under AB 2449, if we're using that exemption, when would the posting of the Zoom link and phone number in our case have been required?
Well, it sounds like at all times there was a link. That's what I'm understanding. It was a little
removed
confusing
today.
back and
It was
forth.
a duplicate.
So I'm hearing
No, the link is still there.
what you're saying and what they're saying as to whether it was up at all.
It was removed today, and about 10 minutes before the meeting, an icon appeared and the link was replaced. So at a point today, on or around 10 or 11 a.m., there was no Zoom link, no dial-in number, only the statement that if you wanted to deliver public comment that you must email Carr and Luke 30 minutes in advance. They're also, again, 10 minutes before the meeting, this icon shows up to like dial in, which I think we have normally at most meetings for the public, but at some point today,
That's not what
there was
staff's
not a
saying,
link.
though, Anthony. Staff saying that there was a consistent ability via a link or the icon. It was one or the other at all times. Is that correct, staff?
I normally add the webinar link the previous week. Day of, Board Docs automatically makes it public on the day of the meeting. So as of this morning, that video icon pops up on Board Docs. That's on automatically. And the webinar I did create last week, actually over a week ago, because I was on vacation.
There was a video icon when the link and the phone number weren't present at some point today. There was this video icon. Does that meet the threshold of having a link and a phone number posted with the agenda?
So I can't resolve the facts for you. I'm hearing different.
If a phone number was, if a dial-in number was not present on the agenda, but there were an icon. At some point today, there was a icon, but not a link or a dial-in number.
Right.
Okay.
Where did the
Let's say-
icon take you?
Webinar that we're on now.
And no ability to dial in, it wouldn't have,
A phone number dial in, no, because it is a. And that takes you to that webinar. As it does every.
I thought you had to have both the phone number and. Fired, but I did not do my homework before coming to this meeting because I'm here for purpose, but I could look that up right now.
Oh, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes. Take a look at that, will you?
Thank you. Do we have public comment on this matter? We have 2 speaker cards on this matter? Okay, I guess that's maybe a question for council as well.
Reconvening, it is 5:09. Would you like to come up to the next one? Council, in review of the law, what did you come up with?
So AB 2449 requires the use of either a two-way audiovisual platform like Zoom or Google.
One
Or-
second, let's get Karen on the line. Juliana, if you hear me, we're waiting on Karen.
Yes, I can hear you. Karen is here.
Didn't hear you on that.
Karen is here and we can hear you.
Can you turn up your sound, please? So we can hear you.
You have to turn up your sound. We can hear you just fine.
Karen, can you say something in the microphone so we try to hear you?
Yes, we're talking right now. We can hear you just fine.
Oh.
Can you hear us?
You look, Karen, it seems that you're muted again.
No, we're not.
Try on the other computer.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You're up. Yeah, there you go. Got it. All right.
We can
Council,
hear you fine.
But we can't hear you from this one.
right.
Okay, well, we'll just work from the one you can hear us from.
Yeah, just work on the one that works.
You're going to end up with an echo because we need to speak into, we can't hear you.
Is there a delay? Is that why?
No, one of them we can hear you and you can't hear us. And the other one, you hear us, but we don't hear you.
They run them both, then
Yeah, just run it both and we'll deal with the.
We are. We are.
Go ahead,
So
Council.
AB 2449 says the legislative body shall provide at least one of the following as a means by which the public may remotely hear and visually observe the meeting and remotely address the legislative body. So two ways. Number one, a two-way audiovisual platform like a Zoom or like a Google Meets, or a two-way telephonic service and a live webcasting of the meeting. But you're not required to have both.
Question on the agenda and what the agenda shall identify. AB 2449, I'm quoting, the agenda shall identify and include an opportunity for all persons to attend and address the legislative body directly pursuant to section 54954.3 via a call-in option, comma, via an internet-based service option, comma, and at the in-person location of the meeting. If these don't appear to be either or, it is via call-in option, via internet-based service option, and at the in-person location of the meeting. And specifically with the agenda posting, having the phone number, the call-in number, and then having that call-in number removed, then telling the public they must email to do it, and then at some point in the day, the call-in number was put back. So as far as posting on the agenda, it says the agenda shall identify and include a call-in option, an internet-based service option, and at the in-person location of the meeting. Can you expound upon that?
It is not consistent with the preceding section. The A,
The 2449 has an inconsistency here.
so A1 and 2 is what I read, and you read C,
C, yes.
appear inconsistent.
The agenda shall identify is what C starts out with. So should the agenda have identified a call-in option, internet-based service option, and the in-person location of the meeting?
Not according to A1 and 2.
What about according to C?
I mean, again, this very new law came into effect this year. There hasn't been there haven't been any challenges to it that I know of.
The agenda shall identify and C, is that a requirement under
So,
AB 2449?
Probably this is enough legal advice at this point
Right.
for you to make your decision about whether you go with substantial compliance or whether you
Right.
allow them to participate or allow them to be observers, but not actually participants.
I have a question for legal counsel. If it says the agenda shall identify in subparagraph C, does that mean the agenda shall identify those items, those three items I just named?
So I would recommend
Right.
against further
Right.
legal advice in open session.
Agreed.
You won't, okay. And we have public comments on this item as well. Are we not,
No,
okay.
It's not.
okay,
an
so
agenda.
we are going to now adjourn to closed session. Certainly. 6:49. In accordance with board policy, this announcement is to advise all attendees that tonight's board meeting is being recorded. Persons wishing to address the board on any agenda or non-agenda item must fill out a speaker card. We have a few of those. We'll please have the Pledge of Allegiance. Moving to 5A, board, we have an agenda to adopt. We have a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Joe. Do we have a second?
Are people from Atlanta?
No.
I think we're on. Can you hear us?
Nice.
Second,
So, do we have a second?
second.
Second by Karen. Please vote.
You have to.
Oh, look at that. Oh. Oh, nice. There we go. Don't mess with it.
Passes 5-0. Come to our report out of closed session. Reporting out of closed session associated with the superintendent evaluation. David's going to take the previous evaluation, map it to the former matrices. Each individual board member is going to provide additional input and comment, provide a full report. At the next closed session, we will add an agenda item to evaluate that and then report out the overall goals and objectives at that point in time. With that said, we do have a speaker card that is somewhat on point. If David Burton wants to talk about the superintendent evaluation. David?
Aaron and Juliana, can you hear them? Hear the public comment?
It's because he's not on the mic.
No.
The two
Yeah,
board
but
members here can't hear
The
you.
remote members.
Okay. I'm not going to start over, but so where we are is, I believe that everybody needs to be evaluated. The trustees are evaluated by the people every 4 years when the election process starts. And it's our responsibility to oversee all the actions that's going on in this district, or otherwise we're remiss in our duties. So there has been no public evaluation. It's not been put on the agenda for the superintendent to be critiqued by the public. He has no, all he does is do what he feels like doing. He coalesces with the board members, and people are left out of this equation. So I'm asking that this be put on the board for agenda and people be given the opportunity to make their feelings known. I see a lot of problems that have been occurring over the past few years, and it is the right of the people to make their feelings known on exactly what's going on with the superintendent's evaluation. It should not be done in closed session, behind doors, out of the view of the public. It's the public's right. We're not just the peasants in the peanut gallery out here. We're the overseers of the district. So I'm asking that you put that on the agenda for the next meeting so the people have the opportunity to speak on the evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next, we have a presentation from Child Nutrition, 7A. Hello.
In front of you. Oh, so sorry. Oh, you can stand behind. Oh, yeah. I'm over there. In front of you, you have some of our amazing options that are meatless options this year. You have our child nutrition hummus, our black bean burger, and Beth over there, wait. Our amazing lead baker has brought you some of our delicious pumpkin bread and our chocolate chip muffins, as well as our fruit of the month, which is the sliced orange that we had at all of our schools today. So we definitely wanted you guys to taste all the yummy options that our kids are being offered every single day. We are feeding around 10,000 students. We have a goal to hit 15 before the new year. We're doing about 5,000 breakfasts, and we have a goal to hit about 8,000 before the new year. My team is hard at work every single day to make sure our kids are well fed before their education journey begins. With me today is Erica, my admin assistant, Beth, our lead baker, Jen, my production supervisor and our dietitian, and Holly, our business office manager. So it takes a whole entire team of about 177 people to feed all of our students every day. So I appreciate what you do, and I truly appreciate what they do.
Thank
Awesome.
you. It's delicious, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And Karen and Juliana said they haven't had dinner yet, so I hope you aren't too jealous that we have all this food before us. I got to ask, who's doing the posting on social media for you guys?
So I am the social media guru.
Excellent, excellent. That's a great follow. The Cajon Valley. What's the page called?
Oh, follow us at Cajon Valley Child Nutrition.
All right.
I repost you all the time, by the way.
Oh, good. I appreciate that. It really encourages our kids to come and eat with us, and it reminds parents that our meals are free and we want.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Sorry we're not there.
7B, presentation from Beable. We do have a comment card, however, before that. Chrissy, please feel free to take the mic.
Hello. I know you guys can't answer back, but I was hoping to find out in this presentation an update on subscriptions and how many have happened since the conference, the World of Work conference. And of those subscriptions to different districts, how many are pilot programs or implemented in all of the classrooms? And how many districts we serve, and how much money are we making, like a day or a quarter or something that we can justify a lot of the World of Work expenses. to kind of measure those two things. I know we do a lot of travel and a lot of promoting, and I know that Beable is something that our district is very proud of. So I would just like to see financially where we're at with that and how our teachers and staff and students are feeling about the mandatory kind of Beable work, if it's something that they feel like is necessary for their classrooms. Thank you.
Product update will be moved to November.
Pardon me?
Discussion on this. The quarter one and quarter two revenue from Beable, royalty revenue from Beable in this year dropped compared with quarter three and quarter four in 2022. Do we have more or fewer paid subscriptions in 2023 than in 2022?
I don't have that in front of me, Anthony.
Okay, is there, do you know why the royalty revenue is dropping year over year?
But if you'd like that information, please send me your question. Actually have the
From them? Okay.
or actually they can present themselves.
Okay.
All right, moving to item 8A. Appointment of board representatives of the Personnel Commission, prepared by Michelle. Opening the hearing. Discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none, we will close the public meeting. No public speakers on that. Moving to 9A, this is the student discipline matter. It is recommended that the governing board approve the recommendation of the administrative hearing panel on the matter of student 2023-2024 AH01. We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Karen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Please vote.
Go to your thing.
Passes 5-0. Moving to 9B. It is recommended by the governing board that we approve the recommendation of the administrative hearing panel in the matter of student 2023-2024 AH02. We have a motion on this matter.
Motion.
Motion by Joe. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Joliana. Please vote.
Aaron, they need to hear your vote.
No, we can vote.
They're able to vote remotely.
You voted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the motion says Joe and the second says by Joe. So for the minutes, but it passes 5-0.
Yeah, it should say Joliana seconded.
Juliana is the second. Moving now to the consent items, we do have one speaker card on the consent items. Item 10B, Ben Richards, please.
Mr. President, if I want to pull items, I would do it after speaker card, correct?
Please.
Okay.
Consent.
Okay, evening, everybody. I'm Ben Richards, founder of SoCal Parent Advocates. Mission to is expose, challenge, and resist critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and vaccine and mass tyranny in our SoCal schools. As of tonight, we're going to add a fourth one, and that is the corrupt, arrogant, and dysfunctional school board leadership. Not saying that we believe that this is corrupt, but arrogant and dysfunctional. So over the past year, we've been working with nearly every parental rights group in SoCal. We've been involved in nearly every major parental rights victory you've been hearing about up north.
being accomplished by teams of brave and passionate patriots in Orange, Riverside, and LA counties. Some of those people who are up there with me are behind me tonight. After strategically shifting our lines of effort to San Diego, we're alarmed what we see here. Let's get into it. 10B, travel and conference. This is going to be one of 4 times I'm going to be speaking to you. Common reoccurring theme here. People are making a ton of money and they're living lavishly. Where's my time? I can't see it. Let's look at this Get Your Lead On, Get Your Teach On conference. Not trying to be a Scrooge here. You're sending 23 employees to Vegas. Thing looks like a party. Does anyone look this up? You got concerts and keynote speakers. I'm not saying the teachers don't deserve it, and these teachers here are known to be great teachers, but it's kind of weird. You're spending money on that, and it's a typical thing we see in the districts. You pull the thread, you find out things aren't so tight-knit around here, and then you keep pulling, the teddy bear comes undone. So you got a few principles going there. A quick Google search of their public records of salary, $200,000. Gee, must be nice to be in the conference business. Okay. The superintendent, he's not going, but you do a easy public Google search, he's making more than $300,000. That's not including all the side gigs you guys are doing. So, like I said, simultaneously, they're going to say that we need more money for the kids. Mr. Miller, you went to Vegas, and you're all, I don't know if this was a work thing that you went to, but you're wearing flashy designer clothes by your friend who also hates conservatives. That was a long time ago. So look, like I said, I'm going to be speaking to you 3 more times tonight. And I'm not saying the teachers don't deserve it. They do here. So I hope you pass this funding resolution. But the point is that there's a lot of money going around here, and you haven't done anything for parental rights. We haven't seen any parental notification resolutions, no flag resolutions, and no parental bill of rights. So sit on that, and we're going to see you again soon.
Board, do we have a motion to approve the consent? Anthony, I believe you want to pull a few items.
Yeah, I would like to pull item B, travel and conference. And I don't need to pull gifts and donations, but I always like to shout out when I see them. Hillsdale PTA donating $1,560 to be used for software renewal for 6th grade math. So thanks, Hillsdale PTA. But yeah, I'd like to pull 10B.
All right, with 10B pulled, does anybody have any other items they'd like to pull?
I'm not going to pull, but I do want to make a comment that I am here in Atlanta with Miguel and Ruben from our print shop, and they're doing amazing work trying to figure out how we can have the best event for our TEDx El Cajon next year. And they are just so grateful for the opportunity to get this digital flatbed cutting system to really make their lives easier and cut the costs locally.
Don't have it on here, right? The next card that I have is 11D, just so.
Would it be okay if you announced her name in case she is on and her name's just not appearing on the list?
On that card, or would it be?
No, she's written down which ones are here and which ones, and in the corner she tells me whether they're virtual or not. All right, we'll move forward. Should she pop back up, please let me know and we can add her back into the overall public comment.
But we know she's not there, just not.
At this point in time, right? No, she's not there at all. All right, so board, with the removal of 10B, we have a motion to adopt the rest of the consent items. Motion by Joe. Do we have a second? I will second. Please vote. Consent passes 5-0 with the removal of 10B. We will now ask for a motion on 10B. Do we have a motion on 10B separately? No, it's just a motion, then a second, then any discussion that would follow thereafter. Motion by Joe. Do we have a second on travel and conference for 10B?
Go ahead. Second.
Second by Karen. Now we have the discussion.
Okay, can perhaps Scott maybe explain the rationale behind the program budget behind each travel event? So for example, the program budget for Bostonia Global General Fund, Superintendent Discretionary, Transportation Special Ed.
Can you vote from your phone? I guess Dan.
Yeah, but they don't.
I'm not sure I understand, Joe. What do you want me to explain?
Well, Title I. So for example, how is what is the rationale behind Title I discretionary funds applicable to this professional learning trip? How do we get to spend Title I money for that trip? Does that make sense?
Or that get your teach on?
Yes.
That's a eligible expense for professional development for our teachers. So that school site has chosen to use their Title I budget to pay for that.
And Title I fund is specific to what is the Title I money go to specifically? What type of spending can go towards Title I?
I can answer that. Title I is intended to change academic outcomes for students, especially those that experience low income. That's what Title I is for. When you see that designation for our schools, it's the number of students that qualify under Title I, under the federal law. So it's the primary goal is to change academic outcomes.
So this conference basically is to help understand to change academic outcomes. Okay, how about educator effectiveness? How is this program budget? How does this correlate to the professional learning to get your lead on in 2024 conference?
I have a handout for both of these conferences that show the objectives. Do you mind if I pass those out? As Scott said, the conference Get Your Teach On, that's a site request for teachers. That's funded from site Title I funds. Educators Effectiveness is a central fund. It covers certificated and classified employees. Get Your Lead On, I just passed out all of my papers, but it covers 6 areas of of leadership development. Some of those topics for the leadership one on Get Your Lead On were staff meeting strategies, developing site culture, community input, family engagement, supporting literacy, staff coaching, hiring, training, retention, data-driven academic instruction, instructional planning, and small group instruction. That was exactly from the website of the conference that these teachers and leaders are requesting to go to.
Are they coming back with instructional materials?
I believe so. And Sarah Robinson is here. She's been to this conference, and so we can get some local context to what happens there.
Please come up.
So you want to know what they're bringing back?
Yes.
I actually have quotes from teachers because when I saw Ashley's post today, I thought maybe I should come tonight. So teachers
When
that
you're
have
talking
gone.
about Ashley's post, who you're referring to? Oh, okay.
Yeah, to her post on the, what is it, Cajon Valley Alliance, Parent Alliance, that I follow. I'm a member of as well.
Okay.
So I asked some of the teachers to share their feedback. So specifically, they brought back ideas like a zombie grammar escape room. They say that over the 2 decades of their teaching, it's the best conference they've ever attended. It inspired them to create more engaging lessons and reaffirm that Cajon Valley is ahead in our teaching practices. But specifically, they bring back different tools and strategies they can use right away to better serve students and families. And I actually have the materials, so if you wanted to look at them, I can share the Google Drive link with you, and you can see the actual books that they get and what they would bring back with them.
Do they come back with instructional materials in addition to books?
Some instructional materials, but it's more like swag, like, I don't know, like a lanyard or things like that. So it's not anything like a book or anything like that. It's more strategies and tools that you could use in your classroom with whatever your content area standards are. Yeah. And so for principals, it's a little different. They have more of like strategies on how to coach teachers or how to hire and retain, interview questions. Trying to think what else we brought back, but it was quite a few things that are aligned with our MVPs. There was a great session on family engagement and engaging families in, developing school culture. So a lot of it is directly connected to what we do. It is a super fun and engaging conference. The speakers mentioned Vegas. Part of the reason we chose Vegas is it's closest and the flights are cheapest. And it actually happens over a weekend where no one has to miss school. So we don't have to have substitutes. We don't have to have people cover our school sites. So it was the least impactful. The other one was in Florida at the Gaylord Palms, which is like super expensive. And then there was another one in Atlanta that obviously cross-country travel is much more expensive just in general. So that's part of why we had to go with Vegas.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, so sorry if I'm putting you on the spot, but I watched some views of this Get Your Teach On event, and what I heard from those reviews was that they don't allow video in the conference itself. Are you aware of that prohibition?
Plenty of people were posting stuff and tagging things on Instagram, things like that. So I didn't see any video or other people taking video. I don't know.
Would it be possible to
I
find
can check and find out. Is that what you want? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I want to know if since it is professional development, I think it should be able to be recorded, and then whatever instructional materials or professional development materials that our staff do come back with, or that are presented for our staff to choose from would be available for parents to review upon request.
I will ask for those things from the organization. I want to be clear, we're not bringing back curriculum. There's strategies you would use as a teacher to increase engagement, but I will request this.
And like I said, I have the workbooks, so I would be more than happy to meet with anyone who wants to look at it and see, but it is all instructionally based. There's nothing woke about it. It's all based on student achievement. I personally don't want to sit through something that is, going to be talking about those sorts of things. We want to focus on kids and their outcomes. So I think it's important to note that we have the content, and I'm happy to share that, because what they do is they kind of have their same content for like a year, and then the speakers might change based on like the location. But other than that, it's really the content itself is vetted and delivered kind of consistently. So, but happy to share that. So let me know. Happy to share it with anyone that wants it.
Thank you, Sarah. My comments to the board now. Could we, since there appear to be at least 2 board meetings or 3, between now and January 13, 2024, when this is scheduled, ask for a courtesy second or a motion to table this. Get your teach on and get your lead on conference. So we've been able to get information from Karen and Robinson.
About the videotaping or?
The other resources and all of that information.
I can second that table.
Can we just make sure we leave enough time to book flights, that the flights don't go up, although the other considerations, staff will need time, just
So
between now and
November,
then?
is that good?
November, whatever meeting, November first.
No,
Tuesday.
next meeting?
Yeah.
I will come back with the answer.
So with that, January 13th, January 14th conference, or are we just talking about the January 14th aspect of the conference?
The same date.
Both, yeah.
basically.
Get your lead on, get your teach on. If we could remove those two and vote on remove and table those two and vote on the rest, I'm okay with that. If
My understanding,
members
Joe,
are-
you second that?
We second it for a table to November, if that's possible.
And we will vote on the balance, and it will be a verbal vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No nays.
No.
No nays.
Okay, gotcha.
Moving now down to 11. These are the action items.
Need to vote on the motion to table.
That was incorporated within the
Oh, got it. Okay.
overall motion. At least that's how I interpreted it. Okay. Recommend that the board approve application for funding consolidated categorical aid programs to the California State Department of Education for 2023 and 2024. Do we have a motion on this matter?
Motion?
Motion by Joe. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Karen. Any discussion or questions? Please vote. Passes 5-0. Moving to 11B. It is recommended that the governing board approve application for funding consolidated categorical aid programs for Bostonia Charter School to the California State Department of Education for 2023 and 2024. We do have a typo in the we have a motion.
Motion.
It's
Motion
gonna,
by Juliana,
it's gonna say 20.
23 and 20. Right now it says
Second.
22,023. So there's an extra two in there.
I'm like,
I second it.
where it's on the
Okay.
recommendation. Okay, got it.
Oh, it's fixed already.
Second,
Motion by Juliana was seconded by, was it by Karen though?
Yep.
Second by Karen. Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Moving to 11C. Recommended that the governing board reject the Miranda v. Cajon Valley Union School District claim. Do we have a motion on this matter?
motion?
Motion by Joe. Do we have a second? And I will second. Any questions or discussion? Please vote. Passes 5-0. Moving to 11D. We have 3 speaker cards on D. Bill, if you'd like to go first. Mary, if you'll please go second. Ms. Bartow, you'll go third, keeping in mind your comments made in open court. not be involved with this district. Ms. Schreiber? When the time starts.
Can you hear me? Yeah, thank you. Good evening, board members, cabinet, and superintendent. I think I got the picture that you guys actually answered a cure to correct and demand notice to cure and correct by what you did in closed session. So I'm not quite sure if that's how it went down. And I think you said you would be coming back with the goals and objectives for the superintendent for next month. Under the new policy that you've brought forward tonight, I understand that the goals and objectives are for his personnel file. They don't have to be fully disclosed, but they can be disclosed in the contract, making it a public presentation by the board. I'm not sure how that works, but if you could address that at some point. So I want to thank you for that. I would also say I have a speaker card in for this one and for the meeting conduct and for the handbook. With that, I think it's important that in light of what happened initially as we were trying to address the call to order and then how this was noticed, I would want to just read to you part of your meeting procedures, which is I'm jumping kind of down to that, is that you shall be guided by an agenda prepared in accordance with board bylaws and posted and distributed in accordance with the Ralph M. Brown Act. The board president shall conduct board meetings in accordance with the board bylaws and procedures. And so with that, I would just say that I know when Anthony first came on the board and Juliana, as new board members, not being privy to some of the like superintendent evaluation and how that's supposed to proceed, it became a distraction. We had to have a demand for a cure and correct and all this kind of stuff. I think that it would behoove this board in working together as you go forward to have a board bylaw, policy protocols, and procedures workshop. And I will address that further, but I would hope this board would consider maybe tabling these 3 items when you have a fully seated board, and then go from there and have a workshop on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Mary?
Hi, yes, Mary. I'm going. Did you reduce our time or not yet? Okay. Great, thank you. I won't take the whole time. Mary Davis here. I do want to say that I am concerned about this, particularly some of the new language and the strike through on the page 3 at the open session after in superintendent's evaluation or a subsequent meeting, the board shall jointly identify performance goals for the next year. I'd like to know where is the room for public input? Why is there no public involvement, at least not that I saw in the procedures? I had previously brought forth actually very valid concerns about the minuscule amount of time that you allowed between ratifying something and having the event occur. And the board president agreed with me that a 30-day policy would be a wise and prudent. You're signing contracts months ahead of time and putting the district on the hook, and the board is literally signing it a day or two before the event happens. That's valid criticism, valid public input. I'd like to see it implemented. That's just one small example. And so the public is the 4th branch of government. We are here for oversight. We want to provide, we want to be involved, and we're asking for you to be open to that. I would also like you to make that a 30-day ratification policy, part of his benchmark and performance metric for his evaluation. And I would like to see how often he meets that. And I would like it to be publicly disclosed. This whole thing, I saw some language in there about putting it in the personnel file. That's not transparency. And he may be your employee, but his performance is accountable to we, the people, the public. Thank you so much.
Sparta, when the time starts.
Good evening. Kind of different sitting out here doing public comments, but I am speaking as a concerned citizen in Cajon Valley, and I have every right to speak, Mr. Miller. Your comment is again wrong, as many other comments that you've made are wrong. There is no court order showing I cannot speak at this meeting.
Never said there was a court order, ma'am.
Your continued bullying of others is disrespectful. So on the topic tonight, the evaluation. Tonight was a disgrace when the public wanted to comment earlier and you shut them down before going into closed session. Just continued bullying and disregard for the community's input. I hope several who wanted to speak tonight and couldn't due to the limits being placed on them by you, Mr. Miller, and with the agenda being changed several times this weekend and today, do a cure and correct. But since this is history of the past of cure and corrects, it is never addressed by the board, and sadly, it probably never will be again and ignored. But I hope they still do it because they have a right to be heard. When will this board stop ignoring the community and speakers? When will this board be held accountable and finally do the right thing? I hope it's soon because the district is suffering every single day with the district disregard for community, students, and staff members' comments. The evaluation, I ask that you do it again, do it correctly as the cure and correct states, and really evaluate the superintendent, not just write a letter or say he's super sweet and doing his job, because that's not the truth. He is being insubordinate, and he continues to be insubordinate, not only to the board member, but to the community, and that is even worse. They are the voters and they have a right to be heard. How dare you disregard them? Thank you very much.
Yeah, speaker card on 11G, if Tom would like to come up. And then Mary, you're also speaking on 11G. Please follow Tom.
11D to
Yeah,
11G.
We are. Or pardon me.
yeah, should we vote on
Yeah,
D
we are
first?
skipping, my bad. Going through the various action items. So moving to 11D, which is the CSBA policy. So it's recommended that the board adopt CSBA, sorry, Tom. It is recommended that the board adopt CSBA's existing recommended board policy 2140, the evaluation of the superintendent. Now, this is updated information and updated CSBA policy from the prior advisal. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Joe. Do we have a second?
Sorry, we're having difficulties going back and forth. I second.
Second by Karen. Now we can open discussion. Do we have any discussion on this matter?
I would like to acknowledge for discussion, Mr. President.
Go right ahead.
All right. I'm going to quote CSBA. When considering the process for updating and improving changes to board policies and regulations, boards should consider several factors. Is there a substantial interest from members of the public on the topic? I think on this topic, that's self-evident. Has there been ample opportunity for the public to provide input on the existing policy and proposed changes? Does the board have sufficient opportunity to review the policy, understand the impact of its implementation, and ask questions from staff? And does the topic require urgent board action? I see that there's only a first reading. Typically with our policies, a second reading is placed on the agenda, that there will be a second reading at a subsequent meeting. That doesn't seem to be an option here. Yeah. Website, would you, Trustee Allegri asked if I would share the site. SBA.org/policies.
All right, and there would be a second reading unless the motion includes a waiver of the second reading.
How do we
So
do
it's normal policy to go for a second reading, even though it doesn't say that. Is that what you're
Otherwise,
saying?
it goes to a second reading.
Yes.
Okay.
So there will be a second reading.
Do we need to add that to the agenda at this point?
No, it goes to the next agenda.
Okay.
Unless there's a waiver of the first reading in this particular motion.
A waiver of the second reading is what you're saying.
So the
Yeah.
action is recommended that we adopt the policy.
Correct. So adopting the policy based upon a second reading, but we would need to have a waiver of the second reading. That should be written a little bit differently, but that's.
So amend the action item to say what you're saying.
Correct. So let's clarify that for the record. So it's recommended that the board adopt CSBA's existing recommended board policy 2140, evaluation of the superintendent, and waive a second reading. That's what should be at the end of it.
I would motion to table this item until we can properly agendize that for the next meeting, rather than adding a second reading to the agenda at this right now, since it wasn't on the posted agenda. I would motion to table this.
I'll second that.
Maybe, sorry, Karen, what was that?
No, go ahead.
Maybe take the recommended action and call it a first reading.
That's the point, is that this would be a first reading.
Okay.
Then there would be a second reading in November prior to adoption or rejection.
Okay, can we modify the recommended action to say that this is the first reading and that there's a second?
Absolutely. So that's
Okay.
that's how we'll read it then.
Okay.
So it's
and can we
recommended that the board, is this right? The board will adopt as a first reading of the CSBA's existing recommended policy of 2140, the evaluation of the superintendent, with a second reading for review, adoption, ratification, or rejection in November.
Friendly amendment to that, Mr. President, to remove the word adopt from that first line there.
Don't believe I said adopt, but if I did, yes, that does not, because we're not adopting tonight.
Okay.
I second that.
Got it. With that clarification, motion, second, verbal, aye.
Aye.
Because we've adopted, we've changed this thing so far around, we need to do a vote.
Oh, I see, because she's gonna change, she's gonna retype it.
Sorry to do this to you, Mr. President, but can you restate the action?
Okay, so this will be considered the first reading of the CSBA existing recommended board policy 2140, evaluation of the superintendent. We will have a second reading at the next board meeting, at which point we will take the second reading and the vote on adoption, ratification, or any modification. Clear? All right, great. With that, verbal vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No nays, passes 5-0. Did you catch all that, Karen? Wonderful. We are moving now down to the exciting process of HVAC replacement. Big ticket item. It's recommended that the governing board award bid 1620 to the two lowest responsive bidders by school site as detailed below. Authorize staff to approve necessary change orders, subject to ratification, and accept the project upon completion. It's also recommended the board relieve RAN Enterprises, Inc. from their total bid. Do we have a motion on this matter?
Motion.
Motion by Anthony. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Karen. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Passes 5-0. Going now to 11F. It's recommended that the governing board award bid 1621 to R.E. Schultz in the amount of $92,500 and authorize staff to approve necessary change orders subject to ratification and accept the project upon completion. It is also recommended the board relieve Western State Builders from their total bid. Do we have a motion on this matter? about our playground equipment. Motion by Anthony. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second from Juliana. Any additional discussion?
Yes, authorize the release of Western State Builders. Why?
Scott?
They had a clerical error on their bid, as did the previous bid that you just awarded, and they're allowed to get out of the bid if they request. We don't have it very often, but
If you find out you're the lowest bidder and you don't want it anymore, you can say clerical error. Clever.
happen very often. You know, usually they want the work, but
yeah.
Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Now, Tom, Mary, 11G.
Timer. But I'm going to be brief. I'm just going to start. On this item, we got 17 contracts and $960,000 on one sheet of paper. No attachment, no further explanation from the district. And so all we have is what's right here. So item number 7, Real Matters Incorporated will provide training facilitators to work with Empower Academy's middle school students. So when I did a Google search for Real Matters Incorporated, I can't find it. There's a Real Matters Incorporated that is a mortgage and lending agency. There's a Real Matters blog that appears to deal with communication, but there's no company that I could find. There's no further information other than what's provided right here. Since this company is going to be dealing with middle school students directly, my recommendation would be that you table this. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen, if you'll make a note, that way we can discuss this in a matter. Mary, when the clock.
Hi, Mary Davis. So again, I continue to have some concerns about your consultant agreements. The first issue is that the failure to do line items or documents. Almost all your other agenda items have the little clickable and you can go into further details. But for the consultant agreements, what we see is just a little synopsis blurb telling us. And again, I'm asking you to be a transparent district. I shouldn't have to put in a public records to see the details. There are some policy nerds and data divers that do like to see that stuff, and in transparency's sake, you should be providing that. So I'm asking you to please do that. And then number 2 is for the manpower contract. So it was $1 million contract, and now it's going to be increased by about 50% to 1.5 million in a search for candidates for because they've not been able to find a lack of qualified. I'm a retired police dispatcher, and it's a very hard to fill position. And I always said that really smart agencies would always put some upfront money. You're going to pay it to somebody. Why? Might as well pay your employers and not the recruiting companies. And so what I would say with that is be the second. You could be accountable to the taxpayer saying, we're not the highest paid, pay them the second amount. And that way you compete with all the other districts that they'll be coming from your applicant pool. So please increase those salaries and then get rid of this nonsense of having to hire a recruiter. And then I would also ask about your superintendent. Again, I go to his high salary, among the highest in the state. And I would really ask for you to reevaluate that. Did you have a shortage of superintendent applicants? And if you didn't, maybe you should think about lessening his a little bit and putting some of that money into the pool for the candidates that you can't seem to fill now for a year. Again, we just ask you to be really good stewards of our money. Thank you so much.
So we'll call for the motion in a second. If that goes forward, then I'll open it to discussion because I would like to have some information from staff.
Mr. President, would I pull items now or after the motion second?
You would pull the items now and we'll discuss them separately.
I'd like to pull item 2 and item 7 for separate discussion and vote.
With that, I'll make a motion.
Motion by Karen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Juliana. Please vote. Matter passes 5-0. Coming back, however, to sub-item number 2, which is the manpower contract. Can I please have discussion, Michelle, if you want to comment upon this, if that would be your bailiwick?
I can start with that. Can Manpower come out at the last board meeting and provide a presentation and an update on the work that they've done? And they really helped the district make significant progress in filling positions to cover the employment gap that's out there right now. And in part because they have access and resources to technology that really targets passive candidates that the district just doesn't have access to. That is the work that they do day in and day out, and that is the only work that they do. And then in addition to that, they have a staff of about 5 members that support us almost on a daily basis to go out and to find those employees, support them in the application process, prepare them to come into the district and compete for those assignments. And we made significant progress in filling those positions, yet there's still a gap. And we still have several hard to fill positions, specifically school nurses, our OTs, education specialists, that they're in the process of helping us with. And our request is that we extend the contract until June, providing us with some more time, additional funding in order to fill those positions. And we're continuing to evaluate and will continue to evaluate the possibility of the district hiring actual recruiters for us to continue that work. Us going through that process at this point in time isn't not going to get us the results that we need in the time frame that we need it. And we hear you, yes, it's competitive salaries as well, and we're trying to approach the problem in many capacities. One is creating the best place to work here in Cajon, which I think we are doing. Getting the support to recruit for those really hard to fill positions, and then the quantity of them that we have, and then also providing salaries to our staff so we can remain competitive, which again adds to the fact that Cajon Valley is absolutely the best place to work.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments to staff?
I have a question. I see that amendment number 1 to the independent contractor agreement dated November 16, 2022 is attached. It's got a few sentences, and that's the only attachment. I don't see the original agreement attached to this agenda.
The details of the contract hasn't changed. One of the unique things about Manpower and the work that we do for them or do with them is that they are only paid if in fact they're bringing us an employee that actually starts working for Cajon.
What's the payment arrangement for them?
They, Scott, do you have the details of that? They're.
So I was trying to find another contract for you. There is a link there to the previous agenda in November of 22. I think that would have the contract attached, the original one.
Where's the link?
Right in the beginning of that.
November 15, 2022.
Trying to find, I think that's attached to that contract, it looks like. What was the question you're asking though?
Can I have a moment to review this?
Yeah, there's the original contract on there. That I think that's what he was asking for.
Services as needed. Attached scope of work. They get 20% of hired candidates first year of compensation.
There's a replacement agreement within the contract as well. So if that particular employee doesn't work out, they quit within a short period of time, they do not pass probation, then they're responsible for finding a replacement for that particular position to ensure that the compensation they're receiving, the district receives the outcome for that. And it's an up to account, an up to amount. And again, they're only paid if in fact we have a person in that employment and fill that position.
So doing rough math here, if it's $1.5 million, we need to fill, we're assuming about 5 times that amount in hired positions. If it's 20%, then I'd multiply by 5 there. Is that the need they're filling in salaried employees? Does that make sense?
For rough math, likely.
Yeah, rough math.
Like,
So if they're getting 20% of every hire they bring to us, every head they hunt for us, and we're approving for $1.5 million.
salaries vary greatly. So I would, Anthony, without actually sitting down and working that out, I don't know that. I don't know.
Okay, I have Excel right here.
Well, and Michelle, does it save us money? Because you had made a comment about, if an employee doesn't work out, rather than having to hire that employee, not have that background, it gives us an opportunity to check them out. Is that correct?
It does, and the benefits that also are beyond and outside the scope of the personnel. The biggest challenges our employees are having out there in the classrooms and in the departments is completing the work that they need to complete. We have 16,500 students that we serve each and every day, and we still serve 16,500 students regardless of whether we have 2,500 employees or 2,200 employees. And with the significant vacancies that we have, we are taxing our current employees, which again, coming to work day after day, having to do the work of 2 people is really, it's hard on them. And I would say there's probably not a day that goes by that I hear a comment somewhere from somebody that they're exhausted. I actually had a meeting this morning with an employee, and that was one of the things that came out. They're exhausted. He's a behavior or a paraeducator and basically on campus at times doing the work of 2 people. There's also safety implications that come along with that when you have reduced staff on campus. And we can't just make people be there to do that work, and the work does not go away. And we've been experiencing this pain point for several years now, and manpower has been the first idea that's been brought to the table that's been successful, and really hearing and listening and responding to our staff, and most importantly to our students and our families. Yes, I recognize it's expensive, but at the same time, it's working, and it's hitting the target on so many needs across the district right now.
Any additional discussions or questions?
One more question. So it says Manpower will provide a guarantee on the 20% agreement that the candidate will successfully complete a minimum of 30 days employment. Does that mean we get a $100,000 employee, 20% of the hired candidate's first year compensation, $20,000 is paid to Manpower, and that employee quits on day 35, that $20,000 is
it's
gone?
2 things. It's prorated for the period of time that employee is working for us, and then they're responsible for finding us a new employee to fill that assignment. So eventually they would get 100% of the fee, but that's because they replaced the candidate in that assignment.
They are required to replace a candidate even after the 30-day employment guarantee they're giving. So if an employee quits on day 35, they're prorated 20% for that employee halts, and then they have to find a replacement to continue receiving.
And I believe it's for the entire year.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Michelle.
That explanation, do we have a motion for item 11G sub 2?
Motion.
Go ahead. Motion, second.
Is that Karen?
Yes.
Karen for the motion, second for Joe. Verbal vote, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any nays? Hearing none, matter passes 5-0. Now moving on to 11G number 7, which is the Real Matters, Inc. Karen, can you comment on this?
Yeah, this is a company we've worked for before. I did hear public comment. I did see it on the website. When I look back into our current ICA, it doesn't have all the backup documentation that I can view at this moment, but I do find them online. They run 2 programs. They run, the one this contract is for is Unity Day, and the descriptions in the ICA. It's about bringing in their group and mentors to work with students in activities around self-management, decision-making, and self-reflection. But they are on the website. It does show their programs. It's consistent with the program that Empower, our school here at the district office, is asking for. I don't know what other documentation you may want.
Do we know if they're incorporated with the Secretary of State?
Yeah, I was trying to, I don't think I can Google search that now, but I'll work with Sharon Clay and get back to the board and get that, verify that.
Do we table that until we can get that information?
You can,
Motion
you
to
can file
table.
a motion to table it, yes.
Yes, motion to table. So we can get further.
I'll second. I wasn't just able to find it online also.
Is there any expediency associated with this contract, Karen?
That was my question.
It says October 16, 23 to June 30th, 2024. And it's a site funds issue.
Okay, so can you just direct me to the website where you are?
And I think we need to be really conscientious. It's also for Empower.
Okay, I understand.
Is it okay if I just email the link that I was able to find to the board now?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Karen.
So are you still seconding the tabling?
No, I'm not, only because Karen made a good point as far as it being the Empower piece. I know that is a critical. Oh, wait, wrong one. That's a critical piece on that. October 17th is just a week away.
Valley has a very strict login system.
Let's say for a Unity Day.
Yeah, the program they're asking for at Empower is Unity Day, not Camp Lead.
One thing I'd like to share with the board, there was a Unity Day at Steel Canyon High School. Included a lot of issues, including that they were asking students questions. 51513 regarding their beliefs or practices in sex, religion, politics, mental health. Heard from a number of parents on that from Steel Canyon. Like some more information on what is Unity Day as well.
Those are good questions, Anthony.
We
Thank
can
you.
get, like your previous request, we can get the materials. What are you doing? What are the activities? What questions will you ask? If you have information from a previous experience, different district, please share that with me. I can reach out to Steel Canyon, find what happened, get some more clarity.
And I think at Steel Canyon, it was with, well, I heard it was with special ed students, but on IEPs, and they all assembly or the multi-purpose room, NPR room, and that is where they were asked these questions. And one kid said that, according to their parent, that he was uncomfortable and that they made him sign something before he could leave the assembly.
I don't have any information about that.
I wasn't looking
and so
for you to
I'm not
answer.
going to respond to
Maybe
things I don't know, but I can find out everything they're going to do. I can preemptively ask those questions and get that information to the board in an update.
Okay.
The information you just sent to us says what happens during Unity Day. Through a full day of activities, students will engage in team building, icebreakers, facilitated small group activities, and intentionally designed experiences to promote thoughtful reflection on and growth on key social emotional skills and competencies. These include self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making, and self-awareness. Unity Day activities and discussions touch upon the following topics: inclusion versus exclusion, individual decision-making and choices, personal accountability and responsibility as an active member of the school community, personal, social, emotional experiences that impact students' development and behavior, school culture, strengths, and challenges. And it says, why participate in Unity Day? Research shows that when students feel more connected, schools experience a decrease in bullying, harassment, and exclusion. Students and staffs have credited Unity Days as one of the major initiatives that have helped to bring positive change to their school climate. After participating, students express feeling more connected to their schools and a confident and advocating for their personal and academic needs.
And I'm gonna now personally second Anthony's motion. Table this matter until we get a little bit more detail. Steel Canyon's right down the street. My daughter attends Steel Canyon. I think we can find out the information from Scott Parr, their principal, and go from there. Because I want to find out more details on this.
Yeah, a little more clarity because it is a little nuanced, but it sounds.
You recognize that picture in the top left corner, Mr. President? I went to Steel Canyon for a little bit, so
absolutely
that's them at Steel Canyon. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's
the motion to table by Anthony, seconded by me. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? No nays. Passes 5-0 with instruction to staff to find out what specifically is going on with Unity Day. And if they have any materials that they hand out or use, like to see those. Fair enough, Anthony? That work?
Thank you.
Let's do that. So now we come down to H, 11H. It's recommended that the governing board approve the reappointment of Ms. Tarina Brooms, the governing board's representative, to the 3-year term on the Personnel Commission. That will be effective December 1, 2023 through November 30th, 2026.
Motion to adopt.
Moved by Karen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Anthony. Any other discussion?
Question.
Question by Anthony.
What's the process for selection of personnel commissioner, representative to the personnel commissioner?
So when Tarina was first applied for it's actually an application process for the position. He was actually interviewed here in the boardroom in an open meeting and was selected by the board to serve as the joint appointee. She's very excited to continue to serve on the Personnel Commission, and she apologized that she's unable to be here this evening because she had a previous commitment.
Lucky she didn't have to sit here for an hour, wait for us to come out.
I let her know that I would be happy to share that with the board.
So this is there a process where others can sign up and throw their hat in the ring on this?
Generally, when the position is open,
Please vote via verbal vote. Actually, no. Please vote.
Motion to adopt.
We already had the motion, so we're good there.
Oh, sorry, I must have missed that. We're getting kind of loopy over here. It
I
is.
understand it's very late where you're at.
It's very, yeah.
Still haven't eaten?
No.
Liliana's vote.
Sorry, we have to click between all the different
I had to refresh.
Yeah,
things,
because we're
so-
on Zoom, we can't just vote.
If you
have-
refresh too, your vote will come up.
Passes 5-0. Moving now to item 11I. We have 10 speaker cards on 11I. If the first four will please, first person take the seat, the next three following them stand behind. Lee Varello, number 1. Here's Heather Wrangler. Is Heather Wrangler virtual? Is she back? Okay, I have 11I on this particular card, but we'll keep that to the side. Chrissy, you'll follow Heather, or pardon me, you'll follow Lee, please. Then Tom and Mr. Richards.
Go ahead and start. My name is Lee Varallo, and I'm a community member, and I am speaking because I know they're going to do they want to have a 5-minute limit for summaries for all of the board members. And my question is, will this also be for people that come and speak from the unions, the president, superintendent, and will that be for everybody? Because if they're going to cut everybody short, it seems like it ought to be that way all the way around. But you guys only come in public once a month.
Thank you, Lee. Chrissy?
I'm not sure who came up with this or who made this plan, because that's not available on the agenda. I'm not sure if it was the cabinet that suggested it, the superintendent, or some of the board members. However, if you guys don't like the time that you have to be here, then you can step down, you can go back to 2 meetings, but allowing other people to have more time during your meeting does not make sense. And we elected you guys as our representatives not to limit your own speech at your own meeting. It's very like non-Republican conservative to start censoring yourselves. It seems very, very, very strange to me. And I agree with Lee. I think that if you start limiting your own speech, then since it's your meeting, everybody besides you guys should have less time to speak, just like the public. You guys represent the public, so maybe anybody that isn't a board member, whether that's cabinet or the union, they should have maybe 3 minutes like the public or less. And I think that if it is a 5-minute thing, I'm not sure if Trustee Miller put this on and just chose to give himself an extra 2 minutes, or what's going on with that, with the president getting more. But I think if things were agendized properly, when the public or certain board members ask for things to be on the agenda, I think if you guys went back to 2 meetings, I think you guys could get a lot of work done without limiting the speech of board members you guys want to censor. Thank you.
Good evening. About 10, 12 years ago, I was on the SELPA board, and I enjoyed that for a while, and felt good, felt like I was doing something and doing something important. And but then after a while, I realized that I was just receiving the information that the district gave to me. I'm not saying which district it was. It was an honor to be there. I learned a lot. It was good for me as a parent. I got something out of it, but we didn't have any influence. We didn't really do anything. And I did it a second year because it helped me as a parent, but I was very aware that I was just being swept along. And I knew that we were part of the cover story for the special education program for that district. And I don't mean that in a terrible way. I just mean that's the way the process was. And sometimes I feel like that's what you folks are, whether you realize it or not, is you're getting swept along, and you're part of the cover story that gives the imprimatur of
citizen approval. And I've been here for 4 months trying to tell you that I think that you can take control of that. You have way more power than you realize if you do things like look at the contracts, not approve them unless you get the information. You don't have to provide an explanation for no. They have to give you a justification for yes. You guys can do it. I just saw something really amazing happen, which is a citizen brought something up. Anthony asked a question. President said, oh my gosh, and now it's tabled. That's the way it's supposed to work. But it only came because we need more information, and the district just isn't in the habit of providing it. I've seen in 4 months, I've seen intimidation here. I've heard threats of anticipated litigation. There's obviously some hardball stuff going on here right now, but you guys could take it. The 5 of you could decide to take control of this district. It's up to you.
Thank you. Mr. Richards, you'll go, then Mr. Burton, if you'll please stand behind, and then Priscilla behind David, and then Ms. Espinoza behind Priscilla.
All right, next common reoccurring theme seen here. Abdication of leadership, seemingly retaliatory measures. So the description on this says, in an effort to ensure that the board agenda item adheres to the brief report required by the Brown Act. The Brown Act in California does not specify a precise duration of word limit, what constitutes a brief report. When a school board member, these people elected, speaks about an agenda item that they want to hear about. So it provides some general principles, which are board member comments. They have a right to speak on agenda items during a meeting. It should be relevant to the agenda item under discussion. Reasonable time. While there's no specific time limit defined for individual board comments, the discussion should be conducted in a manner that allows for reasonable orderly meeting. A few more minutes about information these parents care about is not an undue delay. So what you're really doing is silencing these parents. And I'm looking at all these tenants right here, and this one, empowering staff, you're depowering staff, and you're abdicating your leadership, and you're silencing these parents because they want to hear about the specific issues. So my question as a newcomer here, why? Why don't you want to hear? Is it because you don't want to hear people speak out about things that can be done better? I think that's what it is. So the solution, Mr. Miller and the vice president, is you need to fix your lack of leadership. You need to be the unifying president, vice president you're supposed to be. You're all getting paid a real good sum of money, so you need to cooperate together. You need to figure all this out behind closed doors. What you should not be doing is giving away these people's, these parents' power, because I don't know if you noticed, we feel like we're under assault with our parental rights. So don't pass this resolution, and if you do, it's bad leadership.
Mr. Burton.
Board members, I think this, well, first of all, maybe the president could read this item and clarify exactly what you've got on the agenda. Respond to that.
You have your time, Mr. Burton. Use it as you like.
Okay, well, I think you should not vote on this item. It's restrictive, and it's not, the big problem is you're trying to put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound bag. You've cut the meetings down to 1 a month, and you can't cover everything. People are out here for 4, 5, 6 hours, and it's ridiculous that you're trying to put all of this and shove it through and then take away the rights of the duly elected board members to speak to the parents. There's a lot of other problems coming up, and all you want to do is change the policy so they can make it easier for you to get by with all this stuff. Excuse me. So anyways, to restrict anybody, restrict all. Everybody has the same rights. Restrict yourself, restrict the superintendent, restrict the union members. Everybody gets the same amount of time. That's all I'll speak on this item.
Driver, when the time starts.
Certainly, I'm no stranger to perceived gag order as a board member. I think it's vitally important that you as a board consider that each one of you are representatives elected by your constituents. Your board reports are the time that you can share about not just visiting campuses, but how you have done your due diligence on the issues that you face and the challenges that you face as board members. And I think it's important that you share that. I don't know where this comes into play, that you can only talk about things on the agenda. When giving your report, you can talk about everything that applies to board business, school business, district business, whatever. The only time it becomes an issue is when it leads into a discussion and somebody asks a question invoking that discussion, and then that's a Brown Act violation because it's not agendized. I find it interesting, and number two on this real quick is, or number two is a second reading on this. I think you need to do the same thing on this, or actually I would ask that you put this with the handbook and have that retreat and have that conversation about your policies and how you can all get on the same board, same page, unifying this board under your board bylaw and governance. What happened in the first part of this meeting should have never happened if you govern by your board bylaws. With two people participating from out of town, it was a simple board bylaw. All you had to do when you changed it was add the address of the location instead of codifying it with some huge government code that was ridiculous when all you had to do was add the address. So I was discounted from public comment. So was Chrissy, but you allowed somebody to make public comment and then he couldn't even advise you properly. So that's just wrong. That is an agenda item, Jim, as far as a call point of order. Thank you.
Lois Espinoza, please.
So I may have, signed up to speak up for the wrong topic, but I'm just going to go ahead and give my comment here. So the right of parents to direct the upbringing and education of their children has long been upheld as a fundamental liberty interest under the 14th Amendment. As far back as 1923, Meyer versus Nebraska, the Supreme Court ruled that parents hold the protected right to control
Mr.
their
Espinoza, this is an agendized item. If you want to speak on a different item, I'm happy to move your card to the different agenda.
to maybe public participation.
Regular public participation, not a problem. Happy to have you there, sir.
Thank you.
Mary, and then Ms. Bartow will be the last two on this topic.
Hi, Mary Davis. Thank you. I do have a lot of concerns about this. As many of you may know, I am a government watchdog, almost full time. I believe our government is out of control on many levels and needs much more oversight. What I have seen is a very troubling trend of erosion of rights. First, for taking away clapping for the public at the Board of Supervisors. And then at the gun violence hearing, I think it was lost on a lot of those people that went in. We all had to go through metal detectors and give up any right to be armed or self-defense while we went in, and the supervisors, our electeds, got their own personal security with the sheriff's there. So again, a double standard rules for me, but not for thee. And then at Sandag, they limited our time down to a minute. Again, taking away our right to redress our grievances with the government. So a serious erosion of rights for the public. But what this does, limiting the board members to 5 minutes, that's an erosion of representation. And that's equally egregious. and you get to be the arsonist and the firefighter. You consolidate the meeting saying for management that you want to take it down to once a month, but then now you condense him saying, oh, we need to get, because it's a long meeting. Well, you did that to yourselves. And so I would say at least give them 10 minutes. But the issue is when you can censor other people, but when you censor yourselves and you censor the vote for the people that we represented, censor their voice, that is an erosion of representation. I am asking you urgently to reconsider and remove that and take that away and give them a full amount of time. We deserve to hear from our representatives. Thank you.
Again, just to rephrase, I am speaking as a community member, not as a past board member. This conduct, it feels like it was just yesterday when you were trying to do this to me. You caused this when you went to one meeting a month. You caused this when you did not answer Anthony's questions. You caused this when you did not give him information he was looking for. He had no choice. The only right he has to speak in public to all you board members without violating the Brown Act is to do it in public. He is doing his job. He is a parent advocate, and he is speaking for the parents. He is speaking as an elected official, and he has the right to speak. I don't see him up there wasting time. I don't see him up there making little fluff statements. I see him up there doing his job, as all of you do. And I would expect this not to pass. It is, as Priscilla said, a gag order. Board members are elected, and most of their time, except in open session, is limited to board members being able to speak freely. I feel this could be illegal, if not very unethical. Going back to 2 meetings a month, I think will solve the problem. Addressing and answering questions asked by board members outright without silencing them or just not returning their calls or their request, I think will help this. This gag order is just trying to silence Anthony, who is a voice for the community doing the job he was elected to do. Thank you, Anthony.
That concludes public comment on the matter. So it's recommended that the governing board adopt the updated board bylaw 9323 regarding meeting conduct. However, she had this as a first reading, so let me rephrase the way this should have been written. So it's recommended governing board adopt after the second reading, this being the first reading, updated board bylaw 9323 with the second meeting taking part in the next board meeting unless waived. That's how it should have properly been phrased. That clarification, do we have a motion on this matter?
I have a motion to table.
Motion to table by Karen. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second to table by Joe. All in favor? Any discussion on the table?
I think before we table it, we should discuss some changes.
Well, the motion is to table. So if you want to discuss the tabling, that's
okay. So only tabling this would be brought back exactly as is at the next board meeting for a second reading.
No, there will be no first reading. There's no first reading if we table the matter. The next board meeting would be another first reading technically.
And when can the board discuss proposed changes to this? That be at the first reading at the next? If
correct.
We were to go with
so to have the discussion between the board would require the motion to be, as far as I understand it, the motion to be moved, seconded, then we open discussion. but that hasn't happened. The motion to table has taken place first. Now, in the meantime, discussions can be had with any board member and staff, and then any two board members, so long as it's just the two board members discussing the matter between themselves. That's how I understand how things should work.
Okay.
So based on that, are you having a question about whether or not tabling this will produce the same outcome? Or is there feedback from our tabling that we could submit to each other, or not to each other, sorry. It's almost midnight here. That we can then revisit and submit to Dr. Miyashiro, and then we can disseminate.
I have a suggestion on that. I think that a workshop perhaps would be appropriate, something that was recommended by.
Agreed.
Well, Karen's actually recommended a workshop for
Oh.
several weeks. We tried to coordinate that.
I would like to, I know the motion on the table is to table it till the next regular meeting. If I may, can we table this, the other board policy update before this for a workshop? Would the board be any other policy updates that may have come from CSBA and since 18? I think it was the last time this board or the previous board had gone through and adopted board policy updates.
Are you talking about I and J or something else?
J is a governance handbook. It's not a policy. I'm talking about
I'm a D.
Oh, D.
And I, and then any other policies, because I think CSBA has updated quite a few since we're working with the 2017 versions on a few. So could we have a workshop where we bring those policies and
I would
work on them as a board?
actually include the handbook too, perhaps.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So are you needing me to amend my
You're tabling.
to a table to a board workshop to discuss this matter further?
I think what we're doing is you're reading what's going on. Table and a workshop. After the workshop, then determine at the time of agenda setting whether to re-agendize.
Yes. I believe that's
Everybody's
correct.
interpretation correctly?
I agree with that.
Determine at the time of agenda setting for the next regular meeting whether to agendize this item.
Correct.
No,
Could
those
we-
items
It's tabled
would be three
pending,
items.
pending a workshop.
Pending a workshop. Okay.
Then at the next agenda setting, it would be considered for the agenda at that point in time.
Which we'll have to do
like to
just for
add-
the next
Sorry,
one.
Go ahead.
We'll have to
Post workshop.
focus on I first and then talk about J and do the similar.
Right, but post workshop
Yes.
For I,
for I
strictly for
and D.
matter I. No, D's
Oh.
already
Oh, yeah,
moved
sorry.
forward. So
Is okay, so we tabled D to the next regular meeting. Got it.
correct. That doesn't mean we can't discuss it at the time of a workshop, right? The idea is to have a workshop between now and then.
Can we call it a board policy update workshop or something that would be inclusive of more updates than just these two policies?
I don't care what we call it, right? The issue would be to make it as inclusive as possible. Titling, I don't think is necessary.
Okay.
Worrisome to me.
So inclusive of other updates and other policies.
The
Okay.
CSBA has come out with a whole bunch of them.
Yep. Okay.
So with, Aaron, do you have that clear enough? Okay, so we'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
nays? No nays. So I is tabled. Pending workshop. Now for the workshop. Moving to J. This is a handbook matter. We have speakers on J. Chrissy, you will go first. Tom second. Mr. Richards will go third. And Miss Wrangler is not present. Schreiber, you will go after Mr. Richards.
I don't know, again, who put this on or like who orchestrated this, but it seems very retaliatory to our elected official. There's no mention from public urgency, like I haven't heard any public comment to say, oh, by the way, we don't want our board members there for 5 business days. The thing is that we have like basic tenets of oversight. What your guys' job is to look at the operations of the district, see what's going on. And I recall that we've even had things where Trustee Miller and Karen Mejia and Trustee Allegri and all these people have come when we've had issues. And it just seems like that this is directed toward Anthony's school site visits, which is what is prompting the catalyst of this change. But the public elected this official because we have had major problems in this district. 3-1, we voted out Tana Otero, the incumbent Republican and your guys' friend. And we will do it again for 2 seats come November if you continue the tyranny that you are showing. We deserve representation. We deserve to have our board members speak and move freely. I don't see Dustin Schroeder being told when and where he can't go. I don't see President Biden or fake Biden able to told where he can and can't go when he's governing. Who tells Mayor Wells where he can and can't go when he's looking at the operations of what he is told and held responsible to? You guys should do better because we for sure will.
All right, good evening. At first blush, this looks like a 5-day visit notification, but it's actually a veto clause, a prevention clause. So third sentence, if the visit cannot be accommodated due to site staffing or scheduling conflicts, the next most readily available date shall be noticed and confirmed. This is a veto clause for an elected trustee. It cannot pass. Now, I want to talk about difference in style, and I want to talk about the very first thing in the board bylaws. Role of the board is elected by the community, provide leadership and oversight. Ensuring accountability to the public for performance of district schools by monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of policies. I watched this man for 6 months try to get the advertising policy followed, and it was a knockdown, drag out fight, and site visits are part of it. This was brought on by the actions of the district. The fact that we have a man who's willing to give up his time to go do this is commendable. 25 years in the Navy, I watched admirals and commodores do these sort of site visits. 4 out of 5 would do what Dr. Miyashiro proposes, which is announce. And there's a big deal, red carpet, everything stops. But 1 out of 5 would do unannounced, not even 24 hours like Mr. Carnevale, unannounced visits. And it was disruptive at first, but then the commands, the ships and the squadrons got to like it because they didn't have to stop working. They could just do their job. The admiral would come through or the commodore would come through, and he just wanted to see what was going on. That's all. It's a difference in style. And your 9005 talks about having respect for differences in style among the board members. He has a different style than you all, but your own bylaw says it needs to be respected.
I'm gonna have to stand up for this one. Another lack of leadership, another abdication of leadership. Hearing through the grapevine that this is a retaliatory measure because Carnevale shows up at a construction site, offers ideas how to complete the project under budget, more efficiently. I don't know. That's just a rumor I'm hearing from the parents. Common reoccurring theme, retaliatory. All in one board meeting, my first one here. Let's put that aside, okay? What person behind me goes and works their butt off as little kids in the school and they're complaining because their boss doesn't give them 5 days before they show up and check? How about this guy in a bright orange who's here after freaking work? You think he has that? No, I don't think so. But it's a thread I keep pulling, and it seems to me there's something going on here between Miller and Karen and these big contracts. We want you to be leaders. We want you to lead from the front and to go out and inspect these sites and ensure that these parents, their tax money is being spent properly. That's what we need for you. And that's what we pay you for on top of all the little side gigs you have. All right? So if you vote on this and you vote to push this through, you're going to make a proclamation to all of us and all the regional GOP that you're a bad leader. And then you're abdicating your power and their power, and we're not going to tolerate that. All right? And after all the deployments that I've been on and all the leadership positions I've done, even as a young Marine in Iraq, I remember BAMSIS. Begin the planning, arrange recon, make recon, complete the planning, issue the order, and who's here as a jarhead who knows the last final step to running a good show? It's supervise. But you don't want to supervise. Why? What are you hiding? Why are you abdicating your power and these parents' power? Don't vote this in. You better shelve this and figure it out.
Ms. Schreiber.
Final and third concern that I have as far as the two board policies that you have. The very first notation in the handbook is that every fall the board would get together and review their policies and protocols and bylaws. I hope that that's something that you guys will sanction from now on out. I also believe that parent participation is vitally important to you as you review all of your policies, board bylaws, and protocols. And maybe having a board appointed subcommittee, or policy subcommittee might be effective, might be engaging the community, because the thing that came out of Escondido was vitally important to this board. It was to Anthony when he asked for a special board meeting to discuss the administrative regulation that every district up and down the state of California adopted. It was as law, it was not law. This district's put hundreds of thousands of dollars, can't quite get that amount, to write curriculum and training for something that was not law, that denied parental notification. So number one, how you receive your CSBA policies is vitally important to this board. It cannot sit in the district office, especially if it's tied to parental notification, and this board did not have an opportunity to flush that out, but yet they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars towards it. That needs to be addressed in your board workshop immediately, because if nobody knows what that law is or what happened in that judgment, is two teachers filed a lawsuit against the district, which you do not want, to protect their first right amendments in sharing anything that students have that involves the parent's right to know. So I would ask that you have a policy subcommittee. You review how your board policies come to you and administrative regulations through CSBA. Thank you.
Next speakers on the topic, Mary, David, and Ms. Porto.
Hi, Mary Davis here. So I do have a lot of concerns about this. My issue is, let's just use an example for the layperson of our house. If you know somebody is coming, if they give you 5 days notice that you're going to have company coming, your house is going to look pretty amazing, right? Try if they knock at your door and you're not expecting them, maybe not quite the same results. Let's go to other types of licensing and inspection. How about restaurants? Okay, there's a reason why license inspections, daycares, CPS, for barbers, whatever, they don't give pre-notice. And there's a really good reason why, because when there's pre-notice, things will be one way. And like the commander said, that it'll be quite another. So we need the ability to go in. 24 hours is more than enough notice courtesy. And I also want the superintendent out of this equation. He is the subordinate. He is the employee. It could be a courtesy notice, a CC. But the board members should give direct notice to the school principal or whoever's in charge of that school. If they want to CC the superintendent, that's fine. 24 hours is more than enough notice. And again, you're going to get a different picture. You're going to see the real thing, and they will get used to it, again, as the commander said. So I really do encourage you, get some pragmatism in there and treat this like any other type of licensing inspection, because we need accountability, and the governing board offers that. Thank you so much.
Burton.
Well, I'm an eternal optimist, and I just witnessed you got the board listening and tabling a motion that the public didn't agree with. I think that's a great insight, great display of listening to the people and maybe revisiting things. I think that this should be taken completely off, tossed it into the wastebasket. This idea of like giving 5 days is nonsense, absolute nonsense. It's maybe a way to cover your bases. We know that there was an incident in the last few months when a trustee visited a school and found some posters that shouldn't have been posted. And they had to do a mea culpa and get those posters down because they did not follow board policy. You can scrub anything in 5 days. We are not communist China here. Communist China has minders that you walk around with everybody. We hired these trustees to be our overseers because we can't all wander around the campuses. It's the right thing to do to allow the 24-hour visitation time. And we expect those policies to continue, because if not, we are going to raise holy heck. We know who dictates rules and regulations, and that's dictators. And we don't have dictators. We have a democracy, a representative republic here, and you guys are representatives, and don't try to handcuff our representatives. Thank you.
So I'm sure glad I came.
Ms. Barton, wait till your clock starts, please.
So glad I came tonight. It finally, I think, saw the board working together, and it touched my heart. I think you need to do more working together versus infighting with each other, trying to be right all the time. Site visits. This policy that is trying to be implemented in the governance standard handbook does not surprise me. You tried that on me, but this is a public board member who had, there are public documents when board members and the superintendent were deposed, in my case, that I have knowledge of, and they're public, where they said, we don't have to call the superintendent. We just show up at schools. I can guarantee that will be the same policy for those board members, but not for Anthony if this passes. I think it is a disservice to the community and the parents and the staff members that want board members to go visit schools. So trying to silence him for doing his job goes against all your principles. Be Cajon Valley, empower staff, emphasize relationships, building a community, communicate positively, deliver as a team, innovate, develop, deliver services. Those are your promises sitting before all of you tonight and all of us. Where is delivering as a team? Where is building a community? Board members have to be out in the school to be able to build that community with the schools. And I think Anthony is doing a fabulous job on that. I know Joe goes out to schools and sees. You're doing a fabulous job with that. I know other board members visit schools. They're doing a fabulous job with that. Why are we trying to now dictate what board members are doing when we already have a board policy? And that board policy.
Thank you, Ms. Bartow. So it's recommended that the governing board consider implementing the following modifications to the Cajon Valley Union School District Governance Handbook. We have a motion on this matter.
I think along with this matter, and it should be, my recommendation would be to include this in a workshop.
Or even board
Workshop?
retreat, yeah.
Board retreat.
I agree with that. The governance handbook itself says that it would be updated annually at a workshop retreat in the fall. It doesn't appear that that's been done, at least from the document we're working with, since 2014. So were you on this board back then? I don't think any
I
members.
was on the end of 2014.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say bring the whole handbook back as a basis. I mean, it's an expired document at this point because the board back then agreed that they would renew each year. We can use it, some of it, as a basis to come up with working agreements amongst ourselves, and something that we would all be signatory to if we want to do it in the same fashion that they did back in 2014, their signature panels for all the board members from back then. But I'd say we really ought to start with a clean slate on this. Yeah, so.
There's no motion pending. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I think Joe did, didn't he?
I'll second.
There's no actual motion. It was a discussion about what we might or might not do, but it wasn't.
It was just my
moved.
recommendation.
So a recommendation is not a motion. Would you like to make a motion, Joe?
Sure, I'll make a motion to recommend to add this to a workshop or retreat.
So
Second.
table it pending a workshop or retreat.
With the same item above during the same time.
Second.
All right, second by Karen. Any questions on what the motion is? No questions on the motion. Do we have verbal? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any nays? No. Okay, matters tabled. Moving to item K.
Hold on. Hey, Jim, did we have to table that? I mean, to not vote online?
We did.
Yeah, we have to do
vote.
it verbally because it was a tabling motion, not a motion to do the.
Oh, got it.
Well, actually, it's not even a first reading because it's a handbook. Technically, it doesn't even have to be agendized, but we did it so that we could be transparent with the concept.
Thank you very much.
Awards. We have a speaker card on this. Ms. Bartow. 11K.
Click on 11K.
Please wait for the clock to start, Ms. Bartow.
So very quick on 11K, the PO branding. On item 10K tonight, on the warrants, checks, and purchases, this company is already being paid over $20,000. But the approval is tonight to approve them as a company. So why was this done in reverse? Why was this not brought to the board to approve and then contract with them to do a printing job? And then I didn't say it last time, and I'll say it before I end quickly. When you have workshops, make sure they're in the evening. Parents want to be there. They work daytimes. They want to be in the workshops. They want to be here to give their input and to listen. So make sure they're in the evenings, not during school hours. Thank you.
Board 11K, it's recommended that the governing board re-award bid 1611 to Borderline Management Inc., DBA Boca Rico Inc., as next lowest responsive bidder and authorize staff to execute the necessary documents. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Joe. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Juliana. Any additional discussion or comments?
I have a question. What's the difference between Poker Rio Inc.'s bid and the original awardee on this? Is that somewhere on here?
That's the 39,000.
39,000 more? They're delivering the same amount of stuff, basically. It's no change.
Based on the estimates, these are an estimated bid because we give them estimates of how many shirts a school site might buy. So based on the estimates, that was the bids they put in. May or may not use all that authority, but based on the bids they put in, if we use exactly that amount of firemen's, then it'd be $39,000 more.
The amount based on the amount of. Right, that's all my questions.
So Scott, would that be like even our PTAs and PTOs when they're ordering shirts and then they get the money into their accounts? Is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if PTA goes through this bid necessarily, but I know like student bodies and school sites order as well as the district for a different product.
Okay, thank you.
Those explanations, please vote. Passes 5-0. Moving to communications. Do we have a moment of silence this evening? Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Michelle, do we have retirements?
I'm so happy to report we do not.
Excellent. We will now go to public participation, the general public participation. Mr. Espinoza, since we lost you on the last one, please come up and be first. Mr. Richards, you'll be second.
Okay, I'm back. So, the right of parents to direct the upbringing and education of their children has long been upheld as a fundamental liberty interest under the 14th Amendment. As far back as 1923, in Meyer versus Nebraska, the Supreme Court ruled that parents hold a protected right to control their children's education. The Founding Fathers recognized the importance of the parents' relationship and the limited role of elected officials. Thomas Jefferson asserted, children do not belong to the state, but to the parent. The state's interest is secondary to the natural rights of parents. Legal scholars like Joseph Story and James Kent emphasized the common law origins establishing parental authority over child rearing as an enduring natural right preceding the Constitution. Schools Act and local parentis requiring parental oversight. The Supreme Court has repeatedly affirmed the parental liberty interest in directing children's education as a right older than the Bill of Rights itself. Parental oversight of school boards is the model that aligns with the founding ideals of local government, reflecting community wishes. School boards are not autonomous, platonic guardian entities ruling over us by representatives bound to represent the parents' interests. Supreme Court Justice McReynolds encapsulated the court's parental rights doctrine. The child is not the mere creature of the state. The rise of centralized school boards exercising unchecked powers departs from this parents-driven model. Direct parental oversights provides checks and balances against partisan capture. Parents know what's the best interest for their children, and any civic servant that believes that they know better over the parents' best interest for their children, any civic servant that believes that they know better for the child than the parents is a tyrant. The same worldview can be seen in communist China or Hitler's Germany. A person gets elected, the power goes to their head, and they seek to become unaccountable, and they force their ideas onto you against your will. The worst form of tyranny are those who think they are looking out for your best interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Burton's left the building, so he's going to skip. Leverello, please, then followed by Shari. Please stand behind. And then, is Heather Warsham here? Heather, if you'll please stand behind Shari. And then Mr. Richards, you'll bat clean up there. Correct.
Lee Verallo, and I am here because I love my neighbor. I don't have any kids in this district, but when I was in this district, my kids went to a charter school. And prior to that, I was a homeschooler. And so I have a lot of different kinds of school experience. And the thing that I liked about the charter school was that you had to have parent involvement. It was really important. And so you also had, you could bring all kinds of things to the class, and it was great. I think the kids learned more because they had the parents, but still as a parent, you're the main person who's looking out for your kid. And it's your job, it's your responsibility. And so as a board, that's your job too. And so I hope that you listen to the parents tonight. And I don't like the 5-minute rule. I don't like the 5-day rule. And I don't like the tyrant that runs this district. And so I hope that you guys will do the right thing and not only get along on the things you need to, but also get rid of all of these things that you need to get rid of too, and listen to the parents, or they're going to take their kids out of here.
And it decided to join us again. I was afraid he left for the evening. I'd been sitting here for 5 hours, and part of my message is directed. Beginning of this meeting was absolutely disgusting. That is I mean, the meetings that I've been coming to, that seems to be a common theme, right? This goes on here, and it's really want that representative of what you guys do and what you are. I shouldn't have to remind you. You employ him. I think that's been lost on some of you. Went out of order against your own bylaws. You had 2 people that filled out their cards timely to speak. It didn't allow him to speak. Then you had a gentleman citing that he was an attorney, didn't identify himself, only said he wasn't here from Shinoff's office, so not an attorney for the district. The whole thing was just disturbing. Lack of integrity and leadership leads to failure. Not only are you failing your district staff, but more importantly, you're failing our children. Why my child doesn't go to this district. I expect every one of you to be visiting these campuses. Limit anybody from visiting these campuses. That's what I expect you guys to do. And I don't expect for 24 hours notice to be given. Why? Why can't you just walk onto a campus at any given time? If nobody's hiding anything, what's the problem? The conduct of this board and this cabinet and these meetings month in and months out, it's embarrassing. Some of you should be really embarrassed. This is what's representing us. It's so disgraceful. The majority of this community does support Anthony Carnevale, and they appreciate his transparency. It's high time you all get with the program. The community has lost respect for many of you. That's the word on the street. So I suggest you guys all
come together as a board. The board needs to come together, remember who you employ, and let's do the right.
Okay, can I have your undivided attention?
So
And I know.
I won't start time, but again, many of us, especially me, takes notes on every single speaker. So it's not to be rude, but I want to make sure that I can review what is or is not being said. Ma'am, you have my undivided attention, whether I am looking at you or whether I'm taking notes, so I apologize, but
I just want to make sure because every speaker,
ma'am,
Anthony's making
I
eye contact
fully
with him, but
understand,
nobody else.
but I'm also taking very copious notes.
Okay.
So please feel free when the time starts to start.
My name is Heather Worsham. I have one daughter who's still in the district, daughter who is not. She is currently at LCAP. She is driving. She has done a 360 since leaving. I'm happy to hear that that's, I think a big reason that's changing is because of Anthony. Prior in 7th grade and 6th grade, my daughter was being bullied at LCC. I warned her in an email and had a Zoom call with him about said problem. I also attended a meeting here and I also presented texts of death threats to my daughter. I'll follow up to you. I'll reach out to you. Nothing happened. I reached out to Anthony and to Ashley, asked them to get involved and hear my cries and to listen to me because I felt like I was not being heard. Ashley would watch over my daughter while she was on site, helping, doing whatever, teachers, PTO, whatever it may be. It personally made me feel better knowing Ashley was. Not only that, but Anthony speaks for me. None of you spoke for me. I spoke up for over 2 years. I spoke to the principal. I emailed, and not until I talked to Anthony did it ever get done. Does not need 5 days notice. Show up and be able to have a presence at schools that his sons go to as well. And I think that's a crock. All of these pillars to me up here that you guys say you stand for, it's all bullshit. Complete bullshit. And I can tell you, the best day was the day my daughter graduated from LCC. Thriving, happy. And the only reason I have her at Blossom Valley is because I love Mr. Hoban. I love the teachers there. They're amazing. They are the. So also remember that too. But my biggest thing is you do not speak for me. You do not uphold these pillars. My child, that is my right. I make decisions for my child, and we will not be silenced. We will not go into the dark. We will not go into the night. And can you look at me, or are you scared of looking at me, Dr. Marashiro? Because I'm addressing you, and it would be nice to have eye contact to know that you're not ignoring me. So I hope you hear me, that this isn't a dictatorship, that this is a board, and everybody should be accounted for. It's not a 40%, 5%.
Richards.
All right, I'm gonna change my tune a little bit. I appreciate listening. And so far, demonstrating some good leadership. We need to keep that going, right? Reason somebody likes me is up here intensely is because I'm a parent, working my butt off, and I have 3 jobs. A regular job to make money, and I have to raise my kids. Now I feel like there's a coordinated assault by activist parents, activist teachers, and administrators to put kiddie smut books into schools. The past year and a half, I've been facing down Antifa, revolutionary communists up north. So now we're coming down here because people better wake up. There's a group called the East County LGBTQ+ Alliance that are very mobilized and very activated. We just saw them in Grossmont. They're going to come through here and try to flip this district blue. So please continue to listen. You are on our team. You are the leaders. You guys have to stand up for our rights because our rights are under assault. And I have news for you. And I also have news, respectfully, for my friends in the California GOP. Parents like me are not going away. We're growing and we're expanding. And the California GOP needs to make room at the freaking table, okay? Please. All right, we don't have all these side gigs and we're working our butt off. Now, I'm gonna hand to you a binder, a packet for all the board members. It has the wording of every parental notification that we have passed up north. It's different wording for you. So when you come back, because honestly, you've done nothing. I come down to San Diego County, East County, love everybody here. Where's the parental notifications being passed? Where's the flag resolution being passed? You've done nothing. So please, we need some of these resolutions to be passed here to bring down the temperature. We need legal resolutions to solidify our rights and autonomy over our children and our taxpayers. So you need to start passing resolutions. I'm also looking to Santee. Where you at, Santee? Lakeside? Let's go, okay? And the last point, we saw something good here happen. We're gonna keep our eyes open, but now we're all connected. And this is the result of all of us parents. We're now in touch now. So the days, just like up north, of hiding things from parents and thinking that we're all disaggregated and we're all gonna stay in our own little districts, it's over. SoCalParentAdvocates.com, mark your calendar, October 21st, 11 a.m., Balboa, Stop the War on Children rally. We're gonna recruit more people and get a groundswell of new bodies in our movement. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller, and thank you, Vice President. All right, let's do this. Let's do this.
I think you give him the Corin.
TVA. Okay.
Woohoo!
Got it. Absolutely.
Are working on our contract. Our election is going on right now and the election closes on Thursday. So I'm hopeful that once the election closes and that at the next board meeting that you will. I didn't ask Steve if it was okay at the time, but.
Can you state your name?
Oh, you don't know me?
Just state your name. Can you state your name?
Jill Nugent. Oh, yay! Proud, now I'm gonna cry, proud teacher from Blossom Valley who is a teacher that just wants to teach, hopes that everybody here.
Thank you. Don't see Mark. Is anybody here from CSEA? Not Mark sick? Pardon me?
The ones that were originally for
Oh, we can do that. Yes. We will bounce back to the 1A issues into public comment. That's absolutely fine with CSEA not being here. So Chrissy, go right ahead. Then we'll follow by Priscilla. No, so they submitted a card under 1A, which was a notice issue, which came up as a point of order that I don't believe is an appropriate point to have public comment. So we moved them to actual public comment.
Got it, got it, got it.
All right. I just wanted to say how thankful I am that Sherry Finn is here, Brad Movement. LCC had a scary moment where a student went missing. And I feel very proud and grateful that our principal and the whole team, Mr. Sachs and Ryan Love and everybody came together and worked diligently with the RAD movement to locate the student. Especially Mr. Chotsko, he's really shown a lot of great leadership this year. And this is just another example of how he's really flipping LCC around. And I really commend him for that. I would love to see, I know some people brought up the parental notification and parental bill of rights and things like that. I'm really hoping you guys are working towards something like that, a resolution, something to really solidify that. But I would really like in our safety meeting, perhaps a resolution about the procedure in which to call maybe the RAD movement or something would be really beneficial to our district. I was going to speak on the parent council reports, but you can go ahead and skip that. I just wanted to say that I was very happy that Karen included us PTOs in a little meeting, and that you guys finally changed the agenda to not say PTA council and parent council, because there's a lot of us who do a lot of great things for the district that aren't affiliated with PTA directly. And again, I just want you guys to remember, like, we elected you guys to be our voice, our eyes and ears and oversight, and respect our decision enough to trust the officials we picked to be on the campuses for us. Trust in the calling that you have to be here. Trust that God put you in these seats for a reason. And just trust that we are going to do what we need to do as parents to make sure that this oversight stays complete and transparent and honest. And I really hope you think back to the reasons you got into this business. It's for the kids. And remember that the parents are relying on you to make sure that what we want is fulfilled and the oversight we want to see is done. Thank you.
Priscilla, you're next, and I apologize. I don't mean to be rude, but I need to step out for one moment. You can go right ahead.
If you want to wait, I can step out too.
In which case, then hold for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could take the flight. Mhm. Okay. Mhm. I'll talk to, you're welcome. Sure, I'll talk to the president about that. I can't hear you.
Board workshop.
I still can't hear you.
Could be something you put in your board workshop and your policy review. I would add to what she just said.
Yeah. Got you that time.
In Grossmont, every agenda item had to have the goal that it supported. Achievement and stuff like that.
I can suggest
possibility that you might want to.
Where everybody go? I don't have to go to the bathroom, so.
No, we're right here.
Hey, Lauren. Not here.
They're there.
Oh, I see him now.
Oh, okay. They're off the screen.
We're pumpkins over here.
May kind of took a step back. Person that new student from Christian. But not student for life. Text me. I text you the invite for you and Tom to. Oh, okay. I just put your name on that calendar.
All right, Priscilla, are we ready to go?
So,
All right, Priscilla.
so I had my introductory speech ready at the very beginning of closed session 4:30. I would appreciate it, Mr. President, next time if you're in a question about if that's part of the agenda item and that you can receive public comment on it, at least you put it up to the board and ask the board, do you mind having 2 public comments in regard to the noticing of the agenda? I think that was a primary piece to all of this, and board bylaw was dismissed in that process. And it was so convoluted that I don't understand why you just couldn't, when you're going back into trampled over the agenda, how many times? The minutes weren't posted at the 72-hour. Then you have the second reading that's not posted correctly. That's kind of a boilerplate on board policies. So when you go in and you do this workshop, look at those things that will make you run more efficiently. And like I was saying to Joe, what we did in Grossmont, and the one thing I really appreciated was we always had our goals listed on our board on the agenda item. So you're always supporting those goals that you all agree on and that you put together and voted on. I want to say I have a concern about all the travel that's going on in this district. We didn't do any of this kind of travel. All of the presentations could be brought back to the board. We set direction here as a full body, and you're missing 2 of your board members. That is their primary responsibility, is to legislate together from the dais as a body. There's things that go on here as far as unilaterally making decisions without the board making that decision. So for example, is the repayment plan from the foundation. What happened to that? That was picked off the table. Parliamentary procedure failed because, Mr. President, you didn't say we need a motion and a second to pick that off the table to go forward with that. That's important that some of the parliamentary procedures are reviewed by this board to make it flow better. What happened in the very beginning of this meeting probably cost you 60 minutes. So I would say juggle that with the important responsibilities of board reports. I would say also that your repayment plan should come back to the board, be transparent about that, and stop making the unilateral decisions without the board's recommendation on those things, especially when you had an attorney look at the first instrument and then you didn't qualify it with a follow-up by this board to make an extended of that agreement. So those are my concerns, is things that are going on behind the scenes that should be upfront and transparency for the community. Thank you.
Building? Karen, do you want to say anything on parent council reports?
There should be a video. I think David's going to put it on for the PTO, but thank you, Chrissy.
Nope.
We did have, can you hear me?
David had to leave.
Oh.
Video? There we go, Karen.
So, but we did have our first ever PTO. We had 4 schools that were represented. That's how many PTOs we have as well. So there's been a lot of great work in each one of our schools for the parents doing some amazing things for our kids and our families. And also being advocates. And so I'm looking forward to continuing that as a tradition, really working with our PTAs, PTOs, and working on getting a parent council, because not all of our schools are represented with any kind of PTA or PTOs. So we're working on that. But here is from, as soon as it stops buffering, I guess. This is from WD Hall. I just didn't want to be a talking head any longer, so I've challenged all the PTAs and PTOs to put a video together of the great things that they're doing. There's no sound. We need the sound.
It's playing music, Karen.
Oh, we can't hear it. Thank you.
Board future agenda items, any future agenda items?
I would like to put towards our board retreat to talk about returning to 2 meetings a month.
Anybody else?
Yes, I would like to put the WOW repayment agreement regular meeting agenda.
Anything else? So I'll echo Karen's comments, but I'd like to look at possibly every third week meeting. So nonetheless, we can look at what that schedule would look like. In so much as the WOW repayment, WOW's been repaid. So there you have it. Board reports. Karen, you guys want to do a board report? You want to just sign off and we'll let you go?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much toast out here. It is 12:30 and we've been going since 7:30 this morning. And so it has been exhausting, but we will definitely report back on the TED. It's been amazing. And also just side note, we got to just see from a distance, but the Braves did win out here, so they may be going. So that's my report, Juliana.
Same here.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Be safe out there.
Get some sleep.
Yeah, we haven't eaten yet, so we're actually going to eat because we're starved.
Eat that. Anthony.
Wait.
I'm asking you to go, please.
Leave?
Yes, we're gonna leave the meeting.
On what we talked about. Okay. So the first thing I want to mention, and Chrissy, you talked about it already, was at LCC, and this was publicly posted, so I'm going to keep it to what was publicly posted. Student went missing over the weekend. What Chrissy didn't tell you was he was the kind of the quarterbacking, contacting the principal, and I believe Ryan Love as well, and helping to grease the skids, as it were, for RAD to be involved. Pete Chotzko demonstrated incredible leadership in that, and getting all of the information that RAD needed. And I believe, I don't want to misstate this, but I believe before the Sheriff's Department could even complete intake, the RAD movement already located the girl and recovered her. So well, and no, this is an interactive time, but Jim and I both are members of the East County Posse, and we proudly donated to the RAD movement probably about a year ago now, and that's for another matter, but I hope we continue that. I talked with Trustee Alegria about sixth grade camp options after found out both of us had talked with Dustin, who's the administrator at Camp Cuyamaca. He also sits on the Santee School Board. And well, I gotta say this right out the gate, the Santee School Board has implemented an excellent, just what a great idea, policy. Any library book that a kid checks out, their parent gets an email. That was a side note. Dustin also mentioned that he had been watching our board meetings regarding the YMCA discussions. And after watching that, it prompted him, as the administrator for Camp Cuyamaca, to add the names and emails of every staff member at camp that is with the kids. Additionally, found some other practices that they do up there. The teachers are required, the teachers from the home schools are required to check in each day with their students every morning. I think that they're doing some great things up there. I think it would be great if we could get some other options over the YMCA. I did attend a sixth grade camp. I don't know what you'd call it. The YMCA camp director was there. YMCA Camp Marston camp director was there at LCC presentation. The question was asked, would the names of camp counselors be revealed to parents? The answer was no. The question was asked, would the policies for overnight camp be shared with the parents on request? They asked me to be more specific on that. I said the policies pertaining to the interactions between camp staff and students, and I'm waiting for them to get back on that. So we'll see. Hopefully the YMCA Camp Marston will rise to the level that Camp Cuyamaca is, as far as listing all of their staff members' names and emails on the website at a minimum, and also being transparent with their policies, which Camp Cuyamaca will do. I think it's time for YMCA Camp Marston to come in to the fray on that. But there was a EUSD ruling about 2 days after our last board meeting. I called our policy 5145.3AR, which creates out of thin air the concept of confidentiality between any district staff member and a student and from their parents. The ruling in Escondido Union School District mentioned the training that was done in August of 21 and 22, where staff were trained that they didn't necessarily need to notify parents that home may not be safe. So the institution was trained that it may be okay to keep secrets about other people's children from parents as a government employee. The judge, I called it an emergency in that board meeting. I think it is an emergency that we have the identical policy, and we have also, I found out since the last board meeting, trained our staff that parental notification is sort of a afterthought, and there's things that conversations that staff can engage with kids on and not notify the parents, and in fact share with the children that they can keep keep it confidential between the government employee and parent. So like Escondido, which I've heard compared is the most comparable district to Cajon Valley. We had training done by an activist, not an attorney, not anyone with any experience in law. They did training on law and parental notification, trained our staff to hang the listen.org posters up. And the court ruling in Escondido actually mentioned that training up in Escondido. It mentioned 5145.3 AR, and reading that ruling, it's like poetry to me. I want to read a quote from it. The liberty interest, and this is from an earlier court ruling, the liberty interest of parents in the care, custody, and control of their children is perhaps the oldest fundamental liberty interest recognized by the United States Supreme Court. Probably a case Jim's familiar with, it's quoting Troxel. Whether a child likes it or not, parents have a broad authority over their minor children. Not only do parents have a constitutional right to exercise lawful control over the activities of their minor children, the law requires parents do so. Parents are responsible if their child causes damage at school. It's not the employees of the school who are responsible. What was interesting about that ruling also, and this ruling happened in Escondido, but it happened in Poway before that. These teachers said that the Escondido School District was violating their First Amendment rights by forcing them to keep secrets from children. The judge threw that out because teachers' stock and trade is their speech while they're at school. They are not citizens when they're taking roll call or controlling the comings and goings of students. They're employees of the district. And in the Poway case, they said the district is the government and the government gets to choose what it says. That includes what's posted on the walls and in student-facing areas of the district. Moving on from that, the judge in there, I called it an emergency, this policy that we have. The judge in that ruling called it a trifecta of harm, referring to parents, students, and teachers. And I would agree. I think it puts staff in a dangerous position. If you're trained by the institution to keep secrets about someone else's child from their parent, kind of a potentially dangerous situation on many imaginable levels. So visited Crest School. The PTA president up there had some concerns about the lower field, some septic concerns. She told me that she had seen a company out there last spring testing the standing water, which was there until about July. And she asked, is that something I could see the report on? I said, well, if it was a company the district hired and they produced a report, why don't you ask Scott Bucksbaum? So she did, and got the report back and found out, a couple of weeks ago that most of the standing water puddles at Crest at the time those tests were taken tested positive for E. coli and coliform. The leach field at Crest, according to the maps provided by the district, at some point along the way, the last plan we have for the leach field at Crest is from 1955, stamped by the County of San Diego. Actual blueprints, clay tile system. It's quite remarkable that it's functioning at all at this point in time, 69 years later. But it's maybe it is functioning just fine. It has been covered up by asphalt, about 20% of the field. So hopefully we can get a septic company out there to test, do what they do, and give us some information, give the board some information, give staff some information on what we may want to do in case it does rain a lot again this year. Crest is notorious for having a high water table. If you have a 69-year-old septic system with a high water table, you may find that your standing water puddles on your field test positive for E. coli and coliform. So what I found out in those blueprints, though, which was interesting, and Joel Anderson's office is now involved. They were involved last year because there's a big drainage, 6 foot wide, like 300-foot-long asphalt drainage structure that was also in those blueprints. So it's also 69 years old. And over time, ground squirrels and every water and weather have turned it into basically a sieve that allows the water to flow off the county road, across our parking lot, and down onto the lower field, further saturating our leach area, exacerbating the problem there. It was a major issue last year because of all the rains we got. Well, on those blueprints, which the county's records only go back to about the late 1970s. I think there was a fire at the county records building sometime around there. So when I called the county last year, they're like, well, this is district property. You can go to the Crest-Tehesa Planning Group and ask them to advise us to put you on a list where maybe we'll get to you in 2 years and we'll help your district deal with that. Well, on these blueprints, there's a county easement running through this drainage structure. That drainage structure above the field was actually part of the plan for the septic system back in 1955. So Joel Anderson's office, the county department, land use, and they always change their names. Department of Environmental Health and Land Use and Water Quality or something. Anthony Berry over there. They're studying that. Probably should have asked Scott, but I don't think I can right now. He probably has more information, but they're studying that easement to see, okay, this is district property, but you have a county easement through here. The county didn't even know it existed first time they looked at it because these plans weren't even on record at the county anymore. Probably got burned up in the fire in the late 70s. So county sees an easement there. Maybe they can help us fix that. I know we've already hired as a board a architectural firm to design a fix for that. So hopefully the county will help us with the cost of that and more quickly than waiting a couple of years. Want to thank Miss Nugent for being here. It was touched my heart to see her be here and address the board. All three of my sons have gone through Blossom Valley. She's one of the great ones, and there's a lot of them at Blossom Valley, and I may be biased because all my kids went through there, but I will say that from the principal and many of the teachers, just great things at Blossom Valley. AB 1078 passed, and it was reported that the governor and the state basically took away the rights of parents to decide whether their kids would see age-inappropriate books in school. I don't think that's the case. Parent advisory committees can make recommendations to boards. And I want to read, I think fellow Republicans on the board will appreciate this. I want to read a quote from Governor Newsom. It was great. Governor Newsom said, "We have a responsibility as a state. It's laid out specifically as it relates to curriculum. School districts have to have a significant engagement with parents on changing curriculum. It's actually in statute. The LCAP process requires parental engagement, parental advisory committees, school board engagement. In fact, it lays out in such specific terms parental rights. We actually have a Bill of Rights of sorts as it relates to the ability for a parent to volunteer, as many parents are in their school, to observe a classroom, to review a curriculum once it's already established, not just in preparation of it being established." So perhaps AB 1078 takes away the rights of a school board to do what Temecula did and on its own decide that, you know, this fourth grade curriculum is inappropriate. I think if you went back with hindsight though, and the parents of the Temecula community made that recommendation to the board through a parent advisory committee, I don't think the state would have much to stand on. So that's my little quick update on legislation that's passed that I know a lot of parents have been looking at. And what I would say is parents, your role in your child's education is more important now than it has ever been. Your role of district oversight and just, you don't have to sign up to be a room mom and go once a week and you know, cut out papers. You can just go and observe your child's classrooms with proper notice to the district. And I would encourage any parent who's concerned, I do, when parents call with concerns, encourage them to take an active role, ask to go observe their child's classes, and exercise your rights as parents. It's very important. And with that, I will conclude my board report.
Joe.
Okay, so I'm looking forward to continuing the development of our sex ed curriculum towards the end of this week. And as Anthony had mentioned, I did speak to Dustin in regards to this is so loud, in regards to the sixth grade camp. So I want to give a little background because I'm nearly 100 years old. And I had this preconceived understanding that needed to be updated. And based on talking to Dustin, then I had a little bit more clarity. So years ago, we had more camps available to us through the San Diego County Office of Education. So there was Camp Fox, Camp Marston, Camp Palomar, and Camp Cuyamaca. In recent times, the San Diego County Office of Ed had sold Camp Fox and Camp Palomar. So those two camps are no longer, and they aren't available for our students or any students in the County of San Diego to attend sixth grade camp, which left Camp Marston, still owned by San Diego County Office of Ed, and also Camp Cuyamaca. So Camp Marston is basically managed by the YMCA, but Camp Cuyamaca is just specific to the San Diego County Office of Ed. So I found out some of those details, and then I wanted to learn a little bit more about how sixth grade camp is chosen. And from what I understand, Cajon Valley allows the autonomy to each site to decide which camp they want to go to. So how they do it at LCC may not necessarily be how they do it at Greenfield. So every site will have a different way of picking what camp they go to. So I just wanted to make those clarifications in that, basically just to agree with Anthony of the types of information that the type of information that he received too. I will be visiting a couple schools. Some classrooms had invited me to come out and do music and story time, which I'm excited to do that. So looks like I should be heading out to Vista Grande, Puerte, and hopefully Anza. So I think that is all.
Thank you, Joe. So my board report, hoping to skip because they're super late. Nonetheless, it turns out that way. All right, so tons of passion in this room tonight. Passion is great. Misguided passion based upon misinformation. We need to work on that. When Jill Bartow, the only censured trustee in the last 25 or 30 years of this district, sits here 3 times, despite stating in open court she would have nothing to do with this district, which got her out of certain possible issues, who sued this district, costing us, can't even go to the amount of money that she's cost us, and lost twice, sits here and is applauded. There's some misinformation in this room. Folks need to know who you're quote unquote supporting. Now, I know Chrissy didn't applaud on that one. There's some misinformation in this room on that one. So the room's cleared out. People talk about multiple jobs. People talk about obligations. This is the time I can actually respond. That's how it works. So I appreciate those of you who stayed, whether you agree with me or not. I do appreciate you stayed. Visited Meridian. Very much enjoyed my visit with Meridian. Kid, some things when you do a visit that stands out. Young kid, and he is on the playground. And this kid is hula hoop champion of Meridian. There's no question about it. Around his neck, around his arm, around his leg, he is on fire. And I was just sitting there in awe of this little kid, probably 3rd grade is my guess. Fantastic. But that visit, I provided Karen, Superintendent's office, about a dozen or so dates and times that I'm available that work in and hopefully avoid my trial schedule, so that I can have those picked out by the school sites so when I can come visit. Through that effort, within 24 hours, every school site was scheduled. In addition to, I hold and have held a school summit, education summit with all the administrators, the vice principals and principals, or APs, I guess, once a year, and that was scheduled. The issue about scheduling is about professionalism, not about gotcha. We're not in the military. It's not a military muster, not a military inspection. It's a school site. Different functioning, different mentality of people, all right? Teachers are not soldiers. Teachers are not corpsmen. They're not airmen. Reality of it is, the ability to come onto a campus is codified. The professionalism in doing it to be done exactly that, as a professional. So 5 days, notice. The problem we have is that the current handbook says notice. And I agree with Anthony. Notice could mean I'm on your front doorstep, open the door, here's your notice. Whatever your plans were today, change them. Or I'm just going to roam the school by yourself. I disagree with that. Again, he and I can have professional and courtesy disagreements on how to handle things. All right? I disagree with him on that. But if we're going to have a morale issue, if we're going to come on campus, if we're going to try to find something that's wrong, I recognize that, but that's a different topic on a different day. Somebody had mentioned about coming on campus with his kids. That was clearly defined if somebody had read the actual suggested policy that you can go on campus with kids. Somebody else made the comment over on this side of the room about, oh, well, now it affects his kids, so he's going to vote this way. It always affects my kids. I have grandkids in this district. I don't make a vote that does not affect my family, and have not since I sat on this board, inclusive of staying open during COVID, inclusive of TED, inclusive of the expenditures. So when people make certain comments, respectfully, out of a position of they just don't know, frustrating. Because I'll have a conversation literally with anybody about the circumstances. I live in a world where people are paid a lot of money to disagree with me professionally. Doesn't offend me that people disagree. Problem is you have to have the conversation though, to at least understand where each side's coming from. That's all I ask. Disagree with me. You know, your Facebook memes are frankly rather hilarious, but let's at least talk about the actual facts and try to put these things together for the kids. So that's what we're all here for. We probably agree philosophically on 95% or more of what we all do. At that point, it's about implementation. How do we move forward to help the kids? Some might be more brash. Some might be more silent. Some might want credit. Some don't care about credit. Comments about paying our salary. Again, we made a comment earlier about salary in our and about per diem. $570, guys. All right, that's what we get. I've been here now for coming up on 6 hours. All right, so the 590 or 570 in my per diem, offset against my 550 an hour hourly billing rate. Yeah, if you want to pay me my hourly billing rate, I'll sit here for the next 9 hours. And you'll get my professionalism. You'll get somebody with a doctorate degree, 26 years experience as a lawyer, 7 years sitting on this dais, dozens of years as an arbitrator and a neutral. I do this for free. This is a volunteer position for all of us, regardless as to what our day job is. It's also our understanding to listen to people that know what they're talking about. Somebody mentioned that David Mirashiro runs this district and is a tyrant. Not somebody that's never worked with David Mirashiro, respectfully. Man is very open, the man listens. Been to many and many conferences with other school board members, in particular CSBA, which I didn't go to last year because I'm kind of done with CSBA. But the fact of the matter is other school districts, they don't do these school sites. This board does the work. They don't work with their staff. They don't work with cabinet. They rubber stamp everything. The work's done by people with doctorates in education, masters in education, masters in school counseling. Our obligation to our children is to use best available resources. If that's not our district, it's to go outside of the district. When I came on this board, and I'm going a little bit longer than I want to, when I came on this board, I was very adamant opposed to travel and conference. Adamant. Joe remembers. And I've still probably, other than Anthony, probably the least traveled board member last, at least, I've been there last 8 years. So when Mr. Richardson shows a picture of me and my wife and says about my fancy designer clothing, as a Men's Warehouse blazer for $89 and a pair of jeans from Costco. Mr. Richardson, if you're listening to me, not quite designer. Wife's dress, very different story, but that's my wife's dress. No, travel and conference, when it's done correctly, is an enormously powerful tool. Not everything happens in El Cajon or San Diego for that matter. You have to go other places to expand and understand what's going on outside of our bubble. What's the largest school district in Southern California outside of LA? San Diego Unified. Do you think you want us going to their conferences, to their tutorials? Heck no. None of us want that. None of us should want that, right? Santee apparently has some great ideas. Awesome. Let's use them. Not opposed to good ideas wherever they come from. But sometimes you have to go outside. So in that limited context, I've seen travel and conference be very, very powerful, in particular in the establishment of Bostonia Global Charter. Traveled to Seattle. Myself and Norrell were the only two that went to see a school called Gibson Eck. And that was a transformative time in my travel and conference mentality. That trip changed my mentality because of wow, this school is doing this with these kids. They could implement this with what was then an infant stage of world of work. That combination could be very, very powerful for education. Fast forward, we now have Bostonia Global. So perhaps not all travel and conference is that transformative. Fully understand. And travel and conference, like anything else, you will get out of it what you put into it. And if people are just going along for a ride, if you really want a ride at $75 per diem per day, that's really your goal. All right. But if you're going to do the conference, you're going to listen to seminars, you're going to be the presenters, because that happens a lot of times with our district as we're presenting. I'm getting on a plane tomorrow to go to New York, the United Nations building. Frankly, walk into a little bit of the lion's den from my political philosophy, because we're presenting. Getting right back on a plane and coming right back home. I'm not spending 5 days in New York City. No way. That's not my style. So there are times that travel and conference are important. Fully understand. Again, it's what you get out of it. So I have waxed eloquently for far too long. It is far too late. I myself have to get dinner because as great as the muffin and the pumpkin bread and the orange were, it's not quite dinner. And I feel very sorry for Karen and Juliana, their troopers, for getting through it. And if we are making mistakes, two things. One, we're human. Mistakes are going to happen Two, question you have to ask yourself is, are they honest mistakes? And setting aside either political or other ideological philosophies, I truly believe that any mistake that is made by anybody on our cabinet or on our board is an honest mistake, still with the intention of being in the best interest of our kids, whether it is getting substantial justification from council for purposes of moving forward on a topic versus a bylaw versus curriculum. I do truly believe that we're all pulling in the same direction for kids. But we're not perfect. I am the first one to admit that. So, last comment, something I stated earlier. If you disagree with me, no problem. Part of what I do. But I'm happy to have the conversation with you if on the other side of the conversation, somebody's also willing to have the conversation. Only way we'll ever find our common ground. And dollars to donuts, we will find some common ground. We may not agree on the outcome, but we'll find some common ground. That's how humans get along. That's how we progress and move forward. Again, it's very much a Scalia thought process. We had several people quote, case law warms my heart as an attorney. Maybe not always correctly interpreted, but so be it. Thank you for your time. We're going to adjourn with no superintendent's report because he had to catch the red eye. We're now adjourned at, what are we? 9:55.
If you're still hungry, there's snacks over there.